So how's your morning so far?
Yeah, I'm not quite through my first cup of coffee, so I think I'm functional.
Okay, good, good. I had like at least two so far, and I'm like my eyes look like they're about to fall asleep. I
Yeah, you're like super jet lagged and stuff.
I'm still, my body is not. It wasn't comfortable enough in the UK, and it wasn't comfortable coming back home. So I couldn't sleep on the flight. So it was just consistent,
You're
just
you're a man torn apart. Oh,
between
oh what?
between continents.
What?
Yes.
Hello.
Oh
That
man,
was just a little behind the scenes chatter there. Who knew we were doing a podcast this
did I not
morning?
say verbally that I
What?
hit live? Okay, next time I have to say that. Okay, sorry.
I-
I was mentally
How
sending the
did that
message. Juan,
happen?
we're going live.
Oh boy, I just didn't have the sort of owl delivered envelope. I totally missed that. That's what was that. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another.
Oh, the other
Ooh,
way.
that's it. Yeah, it's there. You go.
Oh, this is
Um,
that. This is the
that
Pixel
really fancy
case.
case. Yeah,
Yeah, everybody likes it. I actually
I
kind of
really
like it. It's
like that
kind of unique.
case.
Yeah.
I was
Come
like,
on, have your
if
birthday
you
already.
did, if you did that, it would be like to. Oh, it's on this side. So it
Yeah,
would
hold
be
on. Yeah.
to. You send it over, but
Yeah,
then it turns
there.
into this like regular case. It's. I
Regular
don't know
case.
how that
Come
works.
on, that's the peak design case, man. That's an epic case.
Well,
Multifunctional,
hello
all over the
everybody.
place. Yeah, sorry.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Our Week, where two old guys talk about their best tech of their week. And I mean, this
Uh,
is kind of a running theme on this podcast. As we get to the end of the week, man, we're wiped out.
there's just so much
There's
going,
so
man.
much.
And it's just like seriously. I mean, I feel like and it wasn't really a super busy week as far as news. There's not a lot of things kind of. I mean, there's a few major things going on.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about those obviously, but as far as like major like
Well,
announcements or
I
stuff like
just
that.
feel like the cycle has ratcheted where I haven't been able to finish some of the conversations that I want to have about phones, and it's like we've already moved on. Like if I posted a whole suite of OnePlus 11 videos,
Yeah.
and I was pretty confident that YouTube would tank them, and they did. But like I want to talk about more of the gaming performance, and I want to look at the camera more, and I have the
There you go.
Vivo X90, and I haven't been able to follow up on the camera
I
performance, and I want to
Same
talk
here.
about the Dimensity more, and you're like,
There you
and
go.
there's like stuff coming out next week, and I've got some gaming hardware that I want to show off, and I had some minor issues with my production setup, so just the time to set up a new monitor for my camera is like, that killed a day's worth of video.
No,
Like it's like
you'd
you're
be
constantly
surprised. Yeah.
sliding down the hill.
It's an always an ever sliding, never ending slide that you never seem to catch up. The biggest concern though is you're right, especially in the production side. Last Sunday, I was right before I was traveling, right before I was leaving. I shot all my videos for the week for the most part, and in the middle of my shoot, my camera decided to stop recognizing the second SD card. And it
Awesome.
basically it told me I ran out of space on my card. And I'm like, wait, I have two SD cards. I have backup so that if one fills up, it jumps to the next.
Hmm.
It was just not having it. So it took me an hour and a half to take the cards, to figure out what's going on, reset the card, reset the second card, format both cards, make sure I transferred all my data off of them. That
Yeah.
reset my camera. And that put me in super panic mode because I did push everything to the end. And I'm like, I'm leaving in a few hours. I can't spend the rest of the day. Otherwise, I was going to just shoot stuff on the flight, or not on the flight, but like during travel. But I can definitely, empathize. And I still don't even have my desktop up, so my monitors behind me are
Yeah.
just for show. If you see
What
how
are you
much
running them
computer
off of?
component there,
What?
right now, the top one is a Remix OS. It's an old, if you remember the old
Oh,
Remix
okay.
OS. So it's not connected to anything. So I just have it right now connected to that. The bottom one is running off of a Google Chromecast, the latest Chromecast 4K. Oop, and I
Nice.
said the word, and I'm sorry. Hey, so sorry,
Ah.
sorry. Stop it.
I mean, and I feel like Grounded Tech here brings up an excellent point with that
And yeah,
Sony camera that you're using. I hear they're just so unreliable. Yeah, I've never had an issue with my Lumix, with my Panasonics getting that done.
I
Actually, I
did
mean, you
have
bring up.
conversations over Lumix. Did I remember? I left Lumix. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
know.
know, I
Just
know.
I gotta miss.
Sony is finicky sometimes.
Oh, I don't think anyone's gonna say like actual optical quality and camera performance
Oh,
that I'm on the winning side here. But I did want to point out one of the issues that I had because I was trying to I was trying to do this setup with different types of storage, and one of the biggest problems I have, because I use the G9, I don't even
Yeah.
use the GH5, so I'm not using their video. The G9 is actually a little bit more photos focused, but it's got like incredible video quality for what it is, for being a less expensive camera, and it really wasn't working. So something that I think you should really switch to also,
Yeah.
I kicked my own butt after having used them in other studios. Just got myself a little Atomos, the Ninja 5.
Oh, I have one.
But were you using it?
Oh wait, externals. No, it doesn't. Wait, mine doesn't have storage in the back. Mine
No,
has
no, no, no.
only.
The Ninja 5 records directly to the monitor on SSDs.
So
So
I have
now
the.
I'm just in live view on the camera. I'm not recording on the. I mean, I could. I guess I could back that up with a more compressed copy on an SD card, but the Lumix G9 can almost match a lot of the video capabilities of the GH5. Like it'll shoot 422 4K 60 video.
In live
And
feed.
I
Okay.
save it directly to a ProRes, or I can even like if I wanted compressed, I could on this SSD I could shoot like 10 hours of H.265. But now everything is kind of handled this way. So it removes part of the processing from the camera, and it runs the camera less hard because it's not actually storing locally to an SD card that's starting to warm up.
Okay.
It's now getting moved to this little portable monitor guy.
Are you
So
still
for the
recording on the
situation-
camera, or are you just using the feed then?
You can dual
Okay.
record, but why?
So for Sony's weird situation is the tracking on the camera is much more, but like the autofocusing is on point when you're recording. But when you're in live view mode, which is what I am right now, you notice like sometimes I have to turn on my secondary monitor to touch the focus. Like right now it works fine, but then we've had days where it just does not want to. Like Sony just did
waits.
not. It woke up on the wrong side of the
Well,
bed.
I mean, the nice thing is that I permanently have that problem regardless of what I'm using. So the focusing thing hasn't gotten better or worse by switching to an external monitor.
It's like, sorry, you're right. That's true. That was what. Yeah, that was one of the reasons why. At the time, I mean, now obviously, Panasonic and Lumix kind of fixed that concern with the new generation.
Well, I mean, I don't want to buy a whole new camera just to kind of fix the autofocus. For me, it really was just the Ninja 5 is it's old enough now that it hasn't really dropped in price, but you can find it often bundled.
Okay.
So B&H had a bundle with batteries, an SSD, some gimmicky software that I'm never going to use. Oh, and the Caddy, the little SSD USB adapter, so that you can plug the drive into your computer.
So
and
essentially,
all of it was.
Yeah.
Well, it helps you get up and running. I still had to order a couple other things, like it doesn't come with its own HDMI cable. So it's like you still need to buy a proper HDMI 2.1 cable, and apparently I don't have one, and I thought I did, so I had to rush order one of those just to get it up and running.
I'm sure you do, and I'm sure you have many.
It's being used somewhere.
And not only that, you will find them a week after you've used the new one, and you're like, well, crap.
Or maybe literally the same day, like what happened to my Chromecast. We lost the Chromecast remote, went out and bought a whole new Chromecast,
I remember
set up the new remote, and literally an hour after we'd gotten that all set up, we found the old remote. So I'm sure as soon as those new HDMI cables come in, I'll be like, oh, that's right, I used it on that thing. So anyway, short story, incredibly long. I haven't even used it fully yet to produce a video, but already it's looking like this is going to be kind of an easier way for me to and also kind of move. Like if I need to move to another camera, I kind of just pop it up there. That's the full recording suite. Move it over there to my other little setup. That's going to be where we store the rest of the recording. I'm hoping this helps organize and streamline. And also SSDs are so cheap. Like they're big storage, faster storage. I have a bunch of these little SD cards and stuff, and yet like this is already easier. So
it's a much better solution.
I'd recommend taking a look, just because it is pricey to make that jump, but it's like now I can really use things on my G9 that I couldn't before. Like especially, like, it can't record local at 422. So I've got a project coming up that I might be doing. I might be shooting a product video for another company,
Hmm.
and they're trying to do it on the cheap. And my cameras, I would not want to record 420 heavily compressed MP4 to do
Yeah, yeah.
that, but I can give their editor now some proper MOV files, some ProRes.
It'll be
So
good.
again, just I would say check it out, and I'll be happy to leave SD cards behind.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just a panic moment in the middle of the last second. You're like, this is not the
Sure.
time I want any kind of error, and I don't know what it was, and it just wasn't happy. But I had to format both SD cards in there and reset up the overflow function
Yeah,
on the S3. So, long
that's
story
less
again.
fun.
Well, yeah, because I had a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it stopped recording in the middle of the shoot. Like right now, this one turned off. Like I got to turn on the Chromecast because it has like a timeout. But
Well,
it's one of those
I'll be
things. You
really
got
excited to see other camera manufacturers step up and start including just basic support for USB SSDs. Like
yeah.
when I can just pack a couple of these
I
guys. Oh, just dropped something off my desk. When I can
so
pack a
there
couple of these guys and plug them
exactly.
directly into a camera would be awesome.
There's a few that do support USB storage, but I think those are the bigger cameras, not our
Yeah.
star
No, no,
portable type of
no.
solution.
I believe there is one full frame mirrorless, and now I can't remember. It might be the Panasonic, but that it's the first step, right?
Hmm.
It took
Yep.
us years to get rid of weird micro USB and micro USB 3 ports and finally get companies looking at like you can put a
USB-C
full-sized HDMI on there. You don't have to make me use a stupid adapter. Like
or like the
it's like
micro
all the little
HDMI.
iterative
Yeah, yeah,
baby steps that take years in pro gear. Like you can still buy USB microphones today that use micro USB. The
yep.
the the audio visual teams are very reluctant to change connectors. And so I think it will probably see over the next generation of new camera bodies coming out that we'll see a bit more support for this, but it's going to make things so much easier. I don't love
Hmm.
having a full-sized SATA data and power connector
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
have to constantly pop drives in and out of. Like SATA really wasn't designed for that kind of swapping.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm a little anxious. Like, how long is this interface really going to last? And eventually, will I be able to get some kind of SATA adapter that then could allow me to use other media? Like, if I want to use CFFast, which seems like totally backwards. Like, I've gone all the way in one direction to then go all the way in the other.
Backwards is yeah, just to get that. Yeah, no, I know, I'm with you. It's there's just so many mediums, and this is what one of the reasons why a lot of people, when they find something that they're comfortable with, they don't typically change, and why adapters don't change as fast is because you use your adapters and you're set up for such a long time. It's not as
Yeah,
fast as turnaround as smartphones or home tech or automation that they
yeah.
can easily change the plug in one generation, and by the time you realize it, it's already been in there for a couple of generations. No, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Oh, I didn't realize that's happening at 8 a.m., Steve. But yeah, sorry. Um,
You made it, Steve. You're right on time because we haven't even really made it into the show. Right now, it's just
I
two nerds. I don't know
I
what's wrong with your camera. I don't know what's wrong
no,
with my
your
camera.
camera. I got in really late last night, dude. The flight was late. Traffic from LAX was horrible. But my
I
wife was
sat in front of my computer all day testing micro PCs and trying to write a script and failed utterly at both tasks. And then my daughter got home from school, did a little homework, and I said, "Hey, you know what? I really need a cheeseburger." And then we left last night, and you're like, "I'm going to bed early." And I woke up
yeah.
this morning and I still feel like I'm exhausted.
I
So
know,
you
I
being jet
know.
lagged, I feel like you're putting up a braver face than I am for having done
I
way less
I am my
yesterday
I
than you did.
it is I just felt bad, but I'm just happy that we're able to still make it. I didn't realize DK
Yeah.
had a Twitch channel. Yes, McGorkin 3. Hey, how you doing? I do have a Twitch channel primarily used now for the Android. Well, because we're still broadcasting on both, and at some point we're going to combine all the channels together as far as the best of our week in the Android Bay for us. This is
Hmm.
just more of that transition point, but we haven't pulled the trigger. The goal ultimately is the best of our week being the host of everything, because I think that's the biggest thing for us if we just put our resources together. But yeah, the TKB 8655 channel is still on Twitch. And that's the one I usually, when I'm able to jump in on Quan shows and on Mondays when I'm not in the office and Twitch is blocked. I'm like, I feel weird. This is one of the things that used to bug me back in the old days. It was like, they block Twitch. They realize what people do, but I'm like, you realize also that Twitch has podcasts, right? Like you let me go on YouTube Music and I can watch and I listen
Yeah.
to podcasts and stuff. Like, but Twitch is not. But either way, I
Yeah,
understand the majority is
it's
gaming and
it's a
other stuff.
weird world that we live in, and again, I was having a conversation with Marie just yesterday afternoon about like how we compartmentalize different services, but like a platform like YouTube, it's always bothered me that a platform like YouTube
Yeah,
didn't embrace audio. I understand it's YouTube and it's a video streaming site, but now it's like it's a paid premium perk just to get screen off audio listening,
hmm
and you're wasting so much storage and bandwidth by forcing podcast creators to turn their audio shows into video productions that people aren't going to watch, that they're only going to listen to.
Oh
And
yeah, no.
it still blows my mind that we didn't see like a, you know, hey, this is an audio show, so all we're going to do is just slap your banner on it
Yeah,
and just you can upload the MP3. Like you can't just upload an MP3, a
nope.
finished compressed piece of audio which is way smaller
Yep.
and requires way less server maintenance to finish off. You know, like you upload a video to YouTube and it's got to like recompress it into a bunch of different streams. Just put an MP3 up there, and if you do like high quality MP3 and 64 kilobit MP3, you'd be done. But
Yep.
instead, YouTube makes us do this stupid dance. It's just server hosting, and there's no recognition of what people are using the platform. It just kind of blows my mind. Like,
The
you've got a
prioritization
big bucket
is
of
different.
data,
Yeah.
yeah, and I've got servers that have to work. How can I minimize some of the server load? Let people upload audio. Oh, I don't know about that. That's like a Spotify thing. And you're like, no, don't.
The
Kills
strategy
me.
behind, and not only that, long form video, it doesn't do as good. They don't push as much of it. It's a very weird algorithmic process right now. At the end of the day, it's always eyes on sight, kind of like their priority is how to keep people engaged. They're going shorter and shorter, and if there's ever been a bigger push on shorts, that was the number one advert all across the tube in London that I was in there the whole week. That's all I saw.
Yeah.
Shoot short. It was literally YouTube advertising in the subway up to make
Mm-hmm.
people start shooting shorts for YouTube, and they had Sam Smith advertising kind of with them and so on. So, to me, there's a big push on shorter form, which is 60
Sure.
seconds or less. So they're trying to do that, but you're right. They could definitely flip it over the other side and start
Right.
saying, "Look, there is a big audience that just wants to
Well,
listen to
there's
things."
a reason why Spotify spent so much money on podcasters. I mean, like there is
They were the other way.
there was a reason why we saw, especially
Sure.
during the peak of the pandemic, those
Yeah.
apps that were trying to create audio town hall events. Like
Yeah.
Clubhouse. I couldn't remember the name, the name Clubhouse. But then, you know, Twitter tried to copy that with Spaces. There was also some other platform, Facebook, I think, was trying to do something similar in there too. Again, obviously, we come from an old school forum-based conversation method where we used to write words out on our keyboards. I don't know if you millennials even know about all that kind of stuff.
All
But
they think about is metaverse. I'm just okay.
but we
It's
appreciate
into that.
long form conversation. I constantly have podcasts running just to hear, you know, people work their ideas out rather than just hyper fixating on 30 seconds of wacky dancing and then on to the next stimulus. I'm not wired that way. I'm wired for exploring how something kind of works
Yeah.
in a longer format. So anyway,
absolutely.
that's not what the show is about. This show is about some really cool gear. So we should probably talk about that.
No, no.
And,
First, right before we
where
jump
do you
in-
want to start? I've been rambling, and
No,
I
no,
need
no,
to drink more coffee. So
Absolutely. I want to start first and foremost by saying welcome to everybody that's with us this morning on this beautiful Friday morning, gloomy slightly, but Friday morning here in Southern California. David Burns, Michael Corcoran is in there, Bradley's in there, Sabaho to everybody's in the chat. I realize I don't use that as much as I used to. You know, Farhan's in there, everybody in Steve Rogue's in there, and David Burns I mentioned already. I was really close to David Burns. I didn't get a chance to see him, but I was very, very close. I traveled all the way
that
to
would have been
close.
fun.
I was trying. It was such a weird kind of timing. I see Scoop is in there. Everybody. It's a great busy week. Exhausted Friday morning, but I do want to say is I did get a chance to go and I had an opportunity to play. Yeah, so I saw the news also. News said it would be changing added audio. I saw that.
Don't worry about it. I'm putting up
You
comments so
threw
that
me. I
people know
know,
we're
but
reading.
we are reading.
Don't. I'm not trying to derail you.
Focus, TK.
Talk
Focus.
about the phone.
I'm gonna stop looking at the right side. So the long form version of what essentially the short answer is, OPPO released or announced two phones at the end of 2022: the Find N2 and the Find N2 Flip. This little guy. And we saw the N2 come out right away. It came out as a Chinese version only. It's a foldable phone that follows more of Microsoft's Surface approach to foldable, with the exception of that it is actually a folding display. But it's the form factor that felt more like a book style. So you open the device as a book and it closes back and it has a larger front-facing display that's more functional than some of the other options on the market. And I really loved that function. It was a great opportunity. N2 versus N1, the first N was absolutely great. There's a great resolution there, and it worked. The N2 Flip impressed me in the sense of what it was trying to do, and it was trying to solve a problem that flip phone owners have. And I say this because I tried, well, I do still own the Z Flip 4, but I tried this with the Z Flip 3, even earlier generations. The biggest thing that always got me was the fact that the front display was tiny. You always have to open up the phone to do anything you wanted to do. The front one is primarily like a hint of what's going on, possibly if you could see what the notification is, but you still have to open it up and then do things. They added more functions over time, but the display size never got bigger. So OPPO took that as a cue of like, okay, what can we do to improve this experience? Well, it basically slapped in a slightly smaller, I'll say that not slightly smaller, a lot bigger. Let me get it to focus. Come on, Sony, be with me. Here we are.
Hey,
so
nailed
a full 3.26 inch display, AMOLED panel on the front that basically goes the whole length of the Flip on the side next to the two cameras that we have. Then they take the main sensor out of the Find X5 Pro, the 50 megapixel camera, and they slap that in there on a Flip. So not only are we going in with bigger display, better primary camera, basically slightly larger internal display at 6.8 inches, about the same size as a fold as the brand new Samsung S23 Ultra.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, because again, I have a hard time conceptualizing anymore because of the different aspect ratios. But it's closing in on like ultra sized phones, right?
It's the size. It's the size of the Ultra. Let's just say that they've plopped in an ultra size from the S23 Ultra onto the Flip. Great stereo speakers that are a little bit louder than the other option, larger battery and 44-watt charging. So basically, like seriously, all they did basically is they looked at what Samsung was offering for the last few years. They're like, we could do better. Yeah. Bring in do, and of course powering it with the Dimensity chipset. This one's powered by the Dimensity 9000 Plus. We're not seeing a Qualcomm like the N2. The N2 Flip has 9000 Plus, which is actually the comparable SoC, but it's on MediaTek as opposed to Qualcomm.
For sure.
And a great combination. It's been so like it's nice, it's functional, it's thin, it closes all the way. No dust actually builds up in the side of this one. Every time I open it up, I'm not having to do kind of like throwing the dust that comes out of it because you're putting it in and out of your pocket.
Yeah.
And they released it in two colors, and so that's why I went to London. I was part of the launch event coverage that OPPO was gracious enough to let me be part of. I got in a day or so early, so I got a chance to take some pictures of the nighttime photography. That was the other thing. They brought in Mario Silicon X from the Find X5 Pro. So a lot of the things that you typically don't think that companies would do, take the main features from their best sellers or their main flagship and bring it into something that, is considered to be more pocketable, easier. It's smaller form factor. It's a little bit thinner, but it's sexy. That's all I can say. It actually fits. It fits more my functions of what I like to do with a foldable phone. So let's do this. So I can say I pushed the button too many times.
Jeez, TK.
That fingerprint sensor, but
come on.
So we get. Let me see. Can we do this? So we get functions like toggles, a full row.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Come on, Sony. So it's focusing.
I mean, we can see what that is, but
yeah. So the toggles are there. Then you go in. Okay, and I do have notifications. So here, notifications, like a whole row of notifications. I know. And if I wanted to respond to somebody, let's say I do want to interact with somebody. Hold on, that one I can't respond. What did you just say? Okay, so here, like an example would be this. I can actually read the notification.
Congratulations, TK.
Yeah, I've earned $3 from somebody using the referral code on my. Yeah, which is actually I did use them. That was the other thing. I used them
Oh
on
yeah.
the Flip when I was traveling. That was the biggest thing I loved about it. I set it up before I
TK
left.
recently did a sponsored video with this company Aralo, which is
Yeah,
trying to be like a kiosk, a mobile kiosk for eSIMs. So
decent, absolutely. Yeah, you pop it in, pop it out, and then just do whatever you need. And um,
I'm really mad I didn't know about that while I still had the Surface Pro 9, because like I
oh,
didn't need an extra tablet
exactly.
plan on my
Yeah,
carrier, and I didn't want to like fire up a whole other SIM just to get the Surface Pro 9.
I've had the tablet plan for the longest time because we use that with Omar whenever we travel. We
Yeah,
just put that SIM card in.
but if I just need 2 weeks, I
Just
can
set up an
just
eSIM.
pay like
Yeah,
$8 and I've got
exactly.
2 weeks of data. So
And more than enough. But
um,
yeah, they're good
so
company.
my question, I mean, like
Sure.
obviously we're gonna see those kinds of comparisons, you know, like what Oppo is doing versus a Samsung Flip.
Oh yeah, or a
Um,
Motorola. They're basically only two
yeah,
other competitors in the market. Really.
the Moto Razor,
So the Razor and the
I
Flip.
forget
Yeah,
what they even call it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's the Razor. Remember? It's
Well, and also, well, is Honor doing a Flip style yet? I
no.
thought no, they're not.
Honor
They're not. Yeah,
Honor's launching the
the Fold
so it's
style.
yeah, but it's a weird title. So they called it the Honor Magic V first, which is the one they
Right.
talked about last year, and the new version is an S, a small S next to the V, which makes it look like Versus. So every time
The
I
Honor
read it,
Magic Versus.
Versus. So yeah, my brainwave when I'm reading it, like the Honor Magic VS, and I'm like, wait, no, I mean Versus or VS, because they made it into a small S the way they always show it. It's a capital V with a small S, and I
Yeah.
mentioned this to them. I said, you got to change that. It makes it look like you're saying Honor Magic Honor Magic Versus, and then
Versus
5G. I'm like,
nothing.
what do you mean Versus 5G? Yeah.
Honor's gonna beat 5G.
Exactly. They're gonna beat it into submission.
David Burns is also saying that Huawei had a Flip style phone.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Huawei was the only one.
We're seeing, I think, I believe this is the more consumer accessible version of a
Yes.
bending folding OLED. I felt this since the original Flip.
Yeah.
I always felt it was silly the way that Samsung went out there and said, this is a statement phone, which means we don't need to make it as powerful or as good as a Galaxy S, but we can still charge you a whole lot because it's fashionable.
Yeah, so
or something.
$1,000
But
is what Samsung decided that a flip phone
kind
should
of table
be, and that
stakes at this point. Yeah.
yeah, and
So are
yeah.
you seeing the evolution? Because I feel like the Flip and the Fold coming from Samsung, Galaxy
Yeah.
Z, they've been refined, but I haven't seen
absolutely.
anything that really makes me feel like, oh, this actually takes the concept to a more polished consumer experience. And you mentioned some of the things that I was obviously going to ask, like, is there a hinge gap?
Mhm.
How is the crease? Is that, noticeable? Do you feel like the way that this bends is going to introduce as many failures as we see on the Flip, where
Yeah.
that Flip loves to fail right at the crease?
There was a
What
guy
what
at the
what do
show
you
holding a
think
Z Flip 3 that was horribly, like the center crease was
is
horribly
cracked?
damaged. Oh, it's
Yeah.
cracked. Yeah, exactly. And that's with their protector. So yeah.
So you're using that right now, and
Yeah.
obviously we can't predict. That's the toughest thing
It's
about
too
using a
early.
new
Yeah, yeah.
technology like a plastic screen. But what are your early impressions as it pertains to real consumer abuse? We put our phones through a lot. Do you
Yeah.
think that this is actually refined to take the durability and the usability up to a more my wife's purse kind of experience for the phone, where she kills gadgets in her purse?
I think with the good case, it should have no problem. So one of the things they showed us on stage was obviously that it's more drop resistant, it's better built, it's easier. It is actually
Hmm.
quite a bit light. Like it's when you're holding it, you feel like this is a phone. Like you know what I mean? Like you're. I guess it's mostly because I'm used to holding phones that are this weight, but in the hand, it feels lighter than the Pixel 7 Pro. Like that's how much
Right.
lighter it feels. Now it does carry a smaller battery. It's running a 4,300 milliampere as opposed to a 5,000, so that also attributes to the lightness. The build material that they have in here overall feels very solid. It hasn't picked up a single scratch in the week or so that I've had, and I have put it in the same pocket as my keys. So that's one of the things I usually.
Right.
My biggest test is let's just see how this survives my key pocket, and if it does, then everything is fine. So no scratching on the phone. It was in a case. Obviously, I didn't just leave it the way it is
Hmm.
open. I think from a durability standpoint, I think this has a little bit better chance. I am worried as far as the external display. As much as I want more real estate means we need protection.
Hmm.
It does not come with any screen protector. The case
Oh yeah.
that they provide has a raised gap, but I would feel a little bit more comfortable if manufacturers will make like a glass protector that adheses to the
And
top of it, gives me more that
and when
comfort.
you throw that case on there, are we talking like twice the thickness of a
Mm-mm.
phone, or
No, no, no.
is this is
So
this in the case the same size as a Z Flip Naked?
it's about the same. It's a little bit about the same size. So the case that they include, first thing, they include a case and a charger in the box. But this is the
That
case that
sounds
they're
like
talking about.
communism. I can't believe you just said that to me. How dare
So,
you?
so
You should
it's
want to buy all of your accessories separately.
the case itself
Oh
that they
wow!
have
Oh, that's
here.
cute. It's got like a little
It's a little loop.
what do you call that? Like a little ring latch. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I like, because when I'm holding the phone, I always hold it like this. I keep my loop on my thumb, so
And then
that if I'm
you
holding,
open it and you've got
absolutely, and if I open it, suddenly I have a full size phone. But they also the biggest thing is about it is so that I don't have to worry for
right.
like, oh, I dropped it. I've been
That's
using
cute.
it in my jacket. I have a top-sided mom jacket pocket here, and all I do is basically I put the phone in and take it out by the loop. And the loop
Mm-hmm.
also works very nicely to create a little bit of a like a holder, so you can actually
Mm-hmm.
hold it like a little bit of a pop socket. The case that they include in the box is very thin, does provide the protection, and doesn't really add that much thickness. And what I was happy about is that it does not make it have a gap, so the gap still is
Nice.
very flush. uh, I mean, it should have the same option or same, I think the same likelihood of really reliability. Depends on how many times you're going to open it. The biggest problem that I know design wise that the Flip has and the Fold have is that they have that gap. The introduction of
Mm-hmm.
particles into that gap and the opening and closing consistently, you're bound to have something that is not going to bend with it. And you're going to start seeing something pushing and cracking it. This has less chances
Yeah.
of that. This is why I'm more comfortable saying that I think this will last longer. The charging that we have in here, although they include a 67-watt charger in the box, it charges at 44 watts, so it's closer to what the Z Fold charges as opposed to what the Z
Sure.
Flip charges. So you see where I'm kind of leading it. They're really feeding into some of the other experiences. Like they gave you the internal display the size of the S23 Ultra,
Yeah.
but they're still giving it to you in the form factor of a flipping phone.
Does
So
it have video out like true USB 3?
So that's the one thing they did. They did match that feature set. So no
Oh,
video out.
they
Yeah. So
flipped it on us.
they
Get
flipped
it?
it on us.
Flip?
Flipped.
Z Flip? Because that's what Samsung
Flipped
did,
and that.
taking a really powerful phone and not giving us video out. Get it?
I wanted video out, and
Flipped
that was
it.
the first thing I wanted to see because I wanted to see like desktop experience. It's like we don't have
Yeah.
that, but we do have their desktop linking software support. So this allows us to
Mhm.
basically mirror our display wirelessly to our PC, transferring data on and off, but no video out. Unfortunately, that was one thing that we don't have. Obviously, there's no
That's
headphone
a
jack.
bummer.
That's the other thing. I would have wished,
I
but
feel
you have
like
to remember,
this
it's
really
$150 cheaper. They're
No, no, no,
sitting
no.
at it. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to make the power user argument here.
no,
I really
absolutely.
don't think flip style phones are ever going to be positioned as power user, content creator, workload kinds of devices. The way that you need to split up batteries and you have to find this impressively small cavity, putting a
Mhm.
hinge in the middle of a traditional candy bar shaped phone, I get it. But I still feel like while we're using premium chipsets and we're at these kind of elevated price tags for the screen and hinge assembly, like that has to add cost. It's one of those things that would be nice.
It would
But
be, yeah.
I kind of get like, this is their tip of the spear. Can we
Mhm.
get people to pay more for this type of functionality? And then we can save costs on not implementing these other traditional smartphone kinds of features. And it worries me because at some point that means we'll probably lose this functionality in other devices. Like we're playing with the OnePlus 11, it does not have video out. And you're
Yeah,
making
yeah.
an argument that it's a cheaper phone, but it does have less functionality. Xiaomi has never put more than USB 2, even on their ultra premium phones. The Pixel 7 has USB 3, which is great for data transfer, but
No
does
video
not
output.
include video output. So it's that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff that it makes me really squirrely that we peaked at the end of the LTE era with phones that had all kinds of functionality, and now we're getting new things in our phones, but our phones are actually less capable than they
Slight,
used to be.
it's a slight chipping of the feature set one at a time kind of a situation. One of the reasons why, and we'll talk about that in a second, is that why I was excited about the Nexdok wireless that we both got a chance to play
Yeah.
with. So that was one of the other things I put out together. But I would have loved. Don't get me wrong. I love minimalism now more so than I've ever had, where I want to travel with a smaller set, a smaller kit,
Hmm.
smaller tripod, smaller carry kits. I don't want to feel like I'm lugging around a production system with me every time
Yeah.
I go out. I want my laptop to be smaller, but I'd like it to be still as powerful as it used to as my desktop, which is another thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit about my experimentation into ARM based technology. But it would have been kick-ass though, seriously. Having a, like maybe a
Hmm.
magnetic clip on the back of this one, clamp it to the back of the Nextdock wireless,
Yeah.
connect that over USB-C, it's charged, you get 5G, you get a desktop experience. That would be amazing of a setup.
That'd
Think
be
about it,
awesome.
how because the Nextdock itself is what, 250 if you want to go with the wired, obviously if you don't want the wireless, but if you go
Yeah, I mean
wired,
the top of the line Nexdok 360 wireless. I think they just call it
yeah,
the Nexdok wireless is
yeah,
$300.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about $850 phone plus a dock laptop experience for maybe around 1100 bucks, and you have a full functioning laptop experience on a mobile 5G connectivity, and you still have kick-ass cameras on this to be able to use. So there's a lot of functions that I really would love to get that interoperability. If we lose the USB video output issue and we go wirelessly only, then the next dock could still marry that, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things I kind of like. I mean, maybe if we're going to, because I'll say I think his EMUI desktop I think has a wireless mode. Magic UI desktop should have the same if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken.
Ready for.
And Ready for has wireless, and Samsung Dex has wireless. So if we
And
do lose,
you can. There was one other.
it wasn't
Oh
LG, was it?
shoot! Now I can't remember. No, I fired it up. It might have been like on a Xiaomi, but I was able to activate the developer mode, alternative view desktop mode, whatever they call it. It was still
Yeah,
broken. It was on Android 13,
yeah,
but
yeah.
when I screen shared wirelessly over Miracast, the alt desktop popped up,
Popped up.
not the screen.
Not the screen.
So
Okay.
I'm hoping that that's just a core Android navigation thing. Hey, we're
Hmm.
detecting that you're trying to share the screen out to another display, so we'll give you the alternative desktop mode. But Android 13, I have not found a functional, you can actually open your app drawer and load an app version of the
Yeah.
Android desktop mode anymore.
No,
I'm on
LG
some
was the
Android
last one with a
11.
custom. Yeah.
Well, no, I was on some Android 11 and Android 12. They work great. The Xperia 1 Mark IV on Android 12 had
Oh
one
yeah.
of the best versions of this. It was super functional. I mean, it's super minimal. You can't do a whole lot with it, but if you
No.
want one app up on your screen at a time to fully take advantage of a 16 by 9 display, it worked great. Then I got
Hmm.
updated to Android 13, and now the app drawer is gone, so you can't do anything with it.
It's just a screen,
So it's
exactly,
those
and
kinds of problems.
you can't cast to it. No, I'm with you, but the that's the thing that I'm looking towards and I wanted to kind of see, but we don't have it on on the flip. The N2 doesn't have that either, so it's not like it has one over the other. The N2 supports display output. Oh no, I take that back. Supports display output, but no desktop mode. So the N2 has it, but I feel like they did kind of similarly where they gave more functions a little bit to the N2, being that it's actually bigger, has more things going on for it. Um, but for 850 euros, and it was already available for pre-orders and in stores on Wednesday when it was announced. That was the crazy part, like seeing OPPO being supported in local stores, being able to go check it
Yeah.
out, like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't see that here. We play with these devices, Xiaomi's and OPPOs and
Oh,
Realme's and
but
Redmi's and
we
all
don't
of that,
even
but
like outside of like a Samsung or I mean, outside of an Apple store or a Best Buy,
yeah,
we
yeah,
don't
yeah, no,
have stores that we
very,
can
very
go and see other gear. I had to shoot something for Slick Deals, and
yeah,
we were looking at like different clubs, membership clubs like Costco, Amazon Prime, Best
hmm,
Buy's Total Tech.
yeah.
And for Best Buy, the section that we were doing on Best Buy Total Tech, we drove to a Best Buy, and you're walking around and you're like, this is kind of scummy. They just had like packing and shipping crates just like out on the floor. All of their displays were busted. They still had AT&T pricing for the Galaxy S22 at full price, full MSRP. You're like, the S23s are out and
Out,
people
yeah.
can't even get like cases for them
Actually,
at
speaking of,
Best Buy.
yeah,
Like, well, that's where you would go. And when the Pixel 7 came out, I went to a Best Buy and you're like, this phone is out. I just need a case for it.
and
And
they're like,
someone else walked in behind me and was like, hey, I was just wondering if you had a Pixel 7 or a 7 Pro. I wanted to check them out. And they walk him over to this ramshackled kiosk with a busted Pixel 6a. And that was their Google display. And you're like, this is so trashy. I've had better experiences walking through flea markets. Like,
I was gonna say I had better
this
experiences
is
at Fry's
awful.
Electronics, and Fry's is not there anymore.
I mean, like, what I wouldn't give for a micro center closer to like
Oh my God,
Los Angeles
yes.
proper.
Every
So
time I wanted, like
it's
it would have saved my life having a micro center close to me because I could drive down to it,
yeah,
pick up a motherboard, pick up a CPU, pick up a cooler, do everything I need, come back here, work on it, and whatever doesn't work, I could just go back.
yeah,
But it's an hour and
because you
40
can't do that
minutes
at a
away
Best
from
Buy
me.
anymore.
No, you
Yeah,
can't. No, and it's just like we used to have a
and
micro center in Burbank, I think, and they closed.
no, we used
And
to have a Fry's in Burbank.
that was there, but there was also a micro center off
Oh,
of
was there a
Victor.
micro center and they closed
Hmm.
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
that
closed.
sucks. I wasn't not
I'm
aware
talking.
of the micro
I was
center
gonna
at
say
the
that
time.
this is early days. You know, back in the old days when the
Oh,
dinosaurs used to walk there.
but before my time, I guess.
Before my time, yeah, my grandpappy
But
used to walk there.
you know, I land in I land in Taiwan, and we walk through a
Ah,
mall
Taiwan.
just to kind of
Yeah,
get the lay of the land around our hotel, and
yeah.
you're like, there's a Huawei store, and
Oh
we
yeah,
walked
I
in
do
there
miss
and we
those.
just
Yeah.
played with all of this Huawei gear, and then right next to it was a Samsung store, and then we walked in and played with all the Samsung gear. I mean, like, it just kills me that we've lost that kind of experience because I don't believe Google could actually fund Apple Store style. Microsoft couldn't pull it off.
No.
They closed all the Microsoft stores. So I don't think Google can actually put up mall space with walk-in, like really go see all this stuff. But we used to have all these cute little kiosk things. Like Amazon was really aggressive about setting up kind of an Amazon experience kiosk. And it
Hmm.
was like a really small mall floor footprint, but it was like a living room, a small like
Hmm.
apartment living room that had all of the Amazon gear. You want to
Yep.
see, an Amazon Echo, if you want to see Fire Stick, if you want to see Kindles, like you kind of walked through it and you could conceptualize, oh, this is what these things do. And I
Yep.
feel like that is a huge missed opportunity in the United States market because now you have to give up your marketing to carriers.
Oh,
People
absolutely. And
can't just go poke your phone with a finger unless they go to a carrier store and hope that there's a functional display unit that they can like kind of manhandle that's bolted to a desk that they can't even pick up.
I mean, not to say that I didn't benefit from it. I remember the whole debacle that Surface Duo. Remember the first Surface Duo that came out,
Hmm.
and the embargo was you could not turn on the display. So everybody's video was opening and
Hmm.
look at this phone. It looks
Look at
great.
the hinge.
Look at the hinge. I can make V's and
Well,
L's and
my
upside
favorite
down.
were all of the YouTubers who were like, I am totally going to abide by this embargo. I'm going to get all of the early clicks showing off this hinge. But don't you think it's suspect that they had a dual embargo? I think that's suspect. Don't you think? I'm benefiting from it personally and making lots of money on this, but
Yeah.
don't you think I think that's suspect. And you're like, you
It
could have just not agreed to the embargo if you really felt that that was
actually
a
that's the other thing.
philosophical problem.
By definition, I don't know if you guys know, embargoes are not okay. The
You
embargo
don't
is the
have
start.
to.
Yeah, it's the starting point. It's not the end point of it. It's not like if you miss that point, you're like, oh, the conversation. Well, I mean, it is. The conversation is over. The
No, no.
algorithm will get
Beyond
you,
that,
but
TK, you're always allowed to say, "Oh no, please don't send me the device."
yeah, you
I
can always
I
just
don't
say,
know if
or
people
send it.
understand this. Yeah, if you don't want to agree to the embargo, you feel like the embargo is something shady, you can always say, oh, well,
Yeah,
I'd rather not partake of this
or or
launch
or
and just not get the thing. That is
or
so
come.
worrying to your conscience and your morals and your ethics.
If you're gonna go on, yeah, of course, with the whole. So but the reason why I was kind of mentioning it before is because Best Buy, of all places, with the really nice functionality, they had the units the same day all of the videos were dropping. The units were turned on. There was no
Yeah,
obviously you don't agree to an embargo walking into a Best Buy, but if
yeah.
you walk in and it's sitting there, you had nothing. So I ended up going and I did a search for at where all the Best Buys in our area that had it, and there was one
Hmm.
in Glendale that had a unit on that was working. And I shot a video. I shot a video of me playing with a phone. I mean, I don't do that anymore because, yeah, I mean, I know I can, but it was more about I felt like the irony of how that embargo was set, that how easy it is for other people to just jump over.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
and I felt like I don't feel Microsoft got enough credit for really playing those content creators because they knew exactly what the content creators were going to complain about.
Yeah,
It's got
no,
last year's chip. It's underpowered. There are 5G phones out there. The software needs some updates. It needs to be more polished. It's not worth it. And they got million subscriber channels just to
hmm
talk about design and hinges. And you're
yeah,
like, you got played.
it,
Microsoft played you like a 1980s boombox dual cassette tape deck. You
rocked,
got
man. I'm sorry.
ratcheted and you deserved it. And then to come back and complain, but I always thought the embargo was kind of sketchy and suspect. And you're like, you got rocked.
You didn't have to
That was
actually.
on
Yeah,
you.
no, no, I'm totally in. But they kind of bring it back with the fun part of what it was. Why this whole kind of thing kind of jumped into it is it was available in his store. I mean, like Grounded
Yeah.
Tech, could have just literally went into the store, checked it
Sure.
out, saw the actual phone, play with the real unit. And there was a lot of local creators as well, which is what I really loved about it. I mean, it wasn't just, because you feel like, why are they bringing a lot of international media? What, obviously the conversation is global. The N2 Flip is a global launch. It's not just a UK, but London is getting it first. And it's one of the biggest exciting parts about it for me is because not only return to more in life kind of events and so on, but also this was my first Oppo launch event. I've worked with Oppo for
Yeah.
so many years. I have never been to one of their launch events. So
That's
I was
fun.
telling that, I was telling that to a friend of mine. I was like, dude, this is my first time. Like, what do you mean? It's like, I've been to almost every other company. This is my first. We were
That's
right
how
at
I
the
was at MediaTek. It's like I love MediaTek. This is the first time I've gotten to actually see you guys. This is awesome.
It's like we get to talk other than let me hit up on the on the Twitters and stuff. It was really nice. The event venue was right next to the O2 Stadium in London. That was a little bit outside of downtown London, and Chris Brown was playing there for the 3 days that we were there. So that was a weird.
Okay,
That was like, well, I mean,
that's
it,
something that happened. Sure.
yeah. Well, okay. So I would have never even known he was there, except for a lot of the fans that were going to see him are staying at the hotel, and a lot of the ladies looked really nice, and they dressed up for to impress and so on. For me, it was like, where was there a club in the part? Like, we were walking back. I don't know if you know Ben Singh, one of the creators, also that was there with me. After I think it was like the second day, we decided because we were jet lagged as heck. He's also from Southern California, so we just went out to shoot video or content at night, and we came back at around 12 o'clock. Our Uber, we were stuck in back bumper to bumper traffic trying to get into the hotel because it's close to the O2. Everything was just backed up and we didn't know what it was. So we get to the hotel and, the party goers are done. The concert's over. And then you see everybody leaving. Like, what happened? They're like, Chris Brown's in town. I'm like, oh, crap.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so that was, we learned our lesson.
Well,
We
it
ended
is
up
a
taking
little
the metro.
disappointing that he is able to draw that kind of a crowd, but that's a different podcast.
That's a different podcast for a different
We don't have to
show.
get into that.
The launch was great. The device is really nice. There's two colors. But again, this is what I was hoping TCL was going to be able to bring with Chicago. So we both know. So TCL about a year. No, actually now it's been 2 years. So 2 years
Almost
ago.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, really? We're 23. About 2 years ago, TCL brought up a concept. It's called Chicago, and they basically had a flip phone, literally same size, bigger display, a whole bunch of different things that I really enjoyed, playing with it. But it was deemed, I guess, that TCL wasn't able to make this into a reality. It would have definitely disrupted the market 2 years ago for Samsung on the price point, because I think this is what this one's going to do now. Samsung's no longer going to be in that, oh, hey, we're...
Well, so yes and no. I think from TCL's perspective, their problem is always going to be marketing.
Oh, absolutely. They're more of an ODM. They're really wanting somebody else to take on and make this into something.
So they can sell either sort of they can license the technologies for other companies and they make money that way. But if they're going to put the phone out there themselves, we all know what would have happened. Yeah. We saw it play out with the Moto Razr. It's too expensive. It only has a mid-ranger chip. It's not as good as the Z Flip, although the first Z Flip wasn't demonstrably more powerful than the first Moto Razr, and it was just as or more expensive. The problem is always going, especially in North America, the problem is always going to be one of marketing. The OnePlus 11 is the OnePlus 11. I just tweeted this too, and I shared it on the Discord. It's on its first sale. The OnePlus 11 is now you get an additional $100 for a qualifying trade-in, and you get the 256 for the same base model price. So $699 for a
They pulled the
256 gig
T-Series
phone.
sale, and I'm glad they did.
Sure. So no one's really fired up about that phone because OnePlus has not spent $2 billion a year on marketing. Google is having the best sales period of the Pixel's history, and all it took was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing and partnerships with like the NBA
Not just
to
the NBA.
eventually
But also
creep
it was
up.
during the NFL.
Yes.
It was
But
advertising.
what I'm saying is that's what it takes to eke out a 2%, 3% gain in the North American smartphone market. So TCL, I'm sure what was really a bigger concern. TCL goes out there, they make a flip phone, and they don't have the resources or the budget to really decimate the marketing all over the regions where it would ship. So you'd get a whole bunch of half-hearted and limp, well, yeah, it's really cool. TCL, they make these budget cheap phones, and they made a flip, and it's less expensive than a Samsung. But I'd probably get the Samsung. It's more expensive, but it's going to be a better phone because TCL makes cheap mid-rangers and entry-level phones.
Yeah.
And then it would have died on the vine, and it would not have affected any change in the market. And I don't blame them for walking away. But I bet you that some of their tech development is probably getting licensed in some of these other products. It's just how you figure out, is this a TCL Dragon hinge, or is this a Samsung hinge, or is this an OPPO hinge, or who made this hinge? No one really cares about that.
No, and I do hope that their technology does survive in other places. But the biggest thing that always kind of got me with TCL is that it's hard to, like, you really need to understand that TCL's big business model when it comes to technology. Like even at CES, I saw their AR glasses, not AR, their VR headset that is for the most part like a direct competitor to the Meta, like to the some of the solutions we see directly from not Qualcomm specific. I keep forgetting the headset, but like basically, yeah, like the metaverse, like the Quest. Sorry, that's what I was trying to figure. The Quest 2 and the Quest. But yeah, the TCL strategy there wasn't even to sell it. Like they have the technology, they have the tracking, they have the experience, the displays, all of that.
They want a license.
They want a license,
or they want someone to come in and say, "Hey, just slap my label on your product." And
Absolutely,
we'll pay you this much.
white label it,
Yeah.
and I feel
sure.
like this is why we're not seeing Pro Series anymore with TCL in the US. Like where the 10 Pro and the 20 Pro were, for me.
This isn't just TCL. We're not seeing Pro Series phones across a number of manufacturers because the economics don't scale. I don't want to get stuck on TCL because we have like actual things in our hands. So right now we're dedicating podcast time to a product 2 years ago that never made it to launch. That is awesome podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. I need you to recognize how good we are at doing the podcasting.
The history of the podcast.
So I want to shift gears here because this is also another thing that I'm probably not going to have my hands on anytime soon. And it looks fine. It looks like a great product, and I'm not really sad about sort of staging it later. But from going to a flip style phone, to Samsung's latest and greatest, you've also been rocking an S23 Ultra. And please tell us why this is going to win every single YouTuber's best Android phone of the year, but it's not quite as good as the iPhone 15 Pro. So you should always keep that same hierarchy of Apple is the bestest, and then Samsung is pretty good. And then if you want to be counterculture, maybe you could consider that garbage Pixel, but that's just the way it is. That's cap facts. That's how it is, fam. Smash my bell icon.
As we jump into this, I will say this much. I have never seen more Pixel smartphones than I've seen them in UK. London loves their Pixels.
Oh, dude. No, Pixel is actually blowing up my daughter's school right now.
Oh my God, there's so many Pixel
6A's
smartphones
are really popular right
I see
now.
people walking around with Pixels. I'm like, wait a minute. This is where
they know what's up?
Is this where people are buying? No, I'm just kidding. It was like, yeah, it was
yes, accurate.
So, yes. So speaking of which I had the opportunity to go to Unpacked. I got a chance to check out the device at the time. I wasn't able to get the device in early enough. I got it literally about 3 days or so before the launch, before people were starting to get their units. I'll say that. Sorry, I'm to confirm it correctly. The launch event officially is today. Today is the day where the S23 series is officially available in stores. So you no longer have to pre-order. You can go into the stores and pick up. I've been playing with the S23 Ultra for about, what is today? Friday? So literally about 8 days. That's how long I've had the phone. I set it up. I shot a whole bunch of content of it on over the weekend. Obviously, just wanted to share kind of a few things with it before, you know, well, realistically, before the metrics kind of start tanking, because everybody gets their phones. Nobody cares about looking at videos of the phone. They have the phone. You know what I mean? They got that kind of appreciation there. Um, Overall performance on this is very much. It feels very much like an S22 Ultra for me. I haven't really hit the benefit of the extra pixels that we have on the 200 because I don't feel like I'm using it in that manner. The 100 time X zoom is a fun thing. I did it literally twice, and that was pretty much all I need from it. I rarely ever need to take pictures from the plane as I'm landing and be able to see what they're doing on the ground. That was literally the one shot I felt like that was justified as far as what me be able to do. Um, The only thing that I'm a little bit anxious about this, and I'll explain a little bit why. And this is because I've tested so many Samsung devices over the years, especially the Ultras or the higher end, the Pluses or whatever they consider to be their best version. Before launch or at launch, the battery life is crazy good. And I'm
Hmm.
talking crazy good. Like I'm having a hard time making a dang. Like it lasted me so I have a T-Mobile SIM in the S23 Ultra, and it was roaming obviously, so I wasn't getting 5G in the UK. But for the longest time, I was like, how often can I kill the battery? And obviously, I was focusing more on the Flip than the
Sure.
23 Ultra at the time. But it took me like 3 days to be able to get the battery down to 20%. And this is with
Nice.
pictures, content, responding, going socials, and all of that stuff. So battery life on the S23 Ultra for some reason, and I don't know if it's, I mean, obviously the 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy, but specifically the 8 Gen 2 is doing some of the major lifting there. But Android 13
Hmm.
seems to be done very well on the S23 Ultra, especially for battery management. And that's one of the really nice things I've seen. But historically, it's always been the case whenever you get the phone, and then something happens after the first major update when they start optimizing and the battery starts tanking. And that's when the
Right.
woes kind of happen, but then people are not making
Which is
videos about that.
has definitely been the flip of my experience with the Pixel, where boy howdy is Pixel battery life hot garbage that first week. Like it's
Mhm.
real proper bad. But
It
then
needs
somewhere
optimizations. Yeah.
around about a week of just kind of and not a week of I just took it out of the box, let me install on my apps kind of use, but like a
Yep.
week of I'm not thinking about testing the phone. Suddenly I like, oh, I made it through the whole day and I still had battery life to spare. Oh,
Yep.
it got better. And my experiences, especially with I feel like my sore spot was the S21 series,
Oh,
where
oh yeah. The
I
settings are
nuked
worse.
the phone, set it up fresh, and I was really impressed. I was really impressed with the little baby S21 for the first couple days, and then I would use it more out in the field, and it would just crater. Like I could not make it a day on the baby S21 after about a week of use. And I
Yep.
always think it's interesting that everybody's experiences with battery life and apps and the services that you use, that's always going to be different, but
It's going to change. Yeah.
as a very general trend, my experiences with battery and Samsung have not really been very positive. If it's the
Mm.
short-term use of a new phone, or if it's the concerns I have with a shelf full of old Samsung devices that several
Oh,
have already started to battery puff,
uh-huh.
Samsung and battery are not simpatico. They
It,
they haven't been great in
it
my gadget reviewing career.
No, no, absolutely. And I think I've suffered one myself as well with I mean, obviously it's not the one that you want to do, but the Note 7. The Note 7 that I had, the battery puffed up so badly, I took the battery out. I just literally ripped it out. I'm like, okay, that's it. That phone
That's
is
terrible.
that's it's a showpiece now. I'm not
Sure,
even going
sure,
to
sure,
bother
sure.
trying.
But again,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
talking about decades old phones again. I did it again.
No,
So
I know.
S23 Ultra.
So the initial
I
impressions with the S23 Ultra, I think, are the display is gorgeous as it was before. It's the
Sure.
ultra of what Samsung has to offer. I mean, I'm not going to
Yeah.
knock down and make sound like
But
it's a
but
bad
I,
phone.
I'm curious, and I
Yeah.
know you haven't had a lot of time to do very sort of super in-depth testing, but it has been frustrating to me to see some of the camera videos where let's compare the S23 Ultra against the S22 Ultra, and isn't it great how this new 200 megapixel sensor gives us more details? And I don't believe it. I'm curious, have you tried really looking at photo output? Like, is this an improvement from the sensor and the lens, or
Mhm.
is this better software processing that could be extended
It
to
could be extended.
S21s and S22s.
That
And
could,
that's what I can't get a handle on until someone starts showing me, show me a raw file
yeah.
and let me see if this really is better lens coatings. When we made that jump on the Vivo X70, where they
Hmm.
really started using
The
Zeiss
Zeiss coding. Yep.
optics,
Yep.
we saw improvements to lens flares, to blooming effects, to
Hmm.
that kind of smeary that you can get off the edges of fine details. Like, that was a tangible improvement to the optical system. And I don't know that I believe 200 megapixels really gives us an optical improvement to our photography over using something like an S21.
No, I really, from what I, so the reason why I mentioned it, I didn't get a chance to take that. I had so many different devices with me. The images I was able to take with the S22 Ultra, comparing them to the pictures I got from the Pixel 7 Pro and from the from the N2 Flip, were all
Hmm.
comparable on the same level, especially low light, really low light photography when I was out. And we're trying to shoot reflections on the water, and we're sitting at basically the large landscape experience. I haven't done a straight head-to-head comparison with the S22 Ultra because I just didn't have time to bring it with me. And then surprisingly, over the weekend or while I was out, my actual own unit came in. The unit, by the way, just to reference, the green S22 Ultra that I have, or S23 Ultra that I have here, is a loaner from Samsung. So this one
Oh,
goes
okay.
back. My own unit showed up while I was out. So now I have two,
Oh, no.
but I need to return one and I need to transfer my data
Right.
over and start doing my work. Um, Optically, realistically, I'll say this: if you're specifically looking to get something out of the S23 Ultra that you thought the S22 Ultra wasn't doing, I don't think this is it. I really feel like the S23 Ultra is not an upgrade cycle for the S23 Ultra. It's probably somewhere around the S22 and earlier generations from an improvement camera experience. And I say that
Hmm.
because the S22 had issues. The S22 did have problems when it came down to
Yeah.
camera at least on the S series. Um, it's a Note through and through, so you're still getting the Note experience. The grip is a little bit better than the S22 because it's a little bit more rounded. But again, that's more so to what they used to be with the Note. Note always was
Right.
more of a boxy
Angular
experience.
and
And then
yeah.
last year they're trying to bridge the S with the Note, and they gave us more rounded. So I think from the amount of time that I've had with it, and again, it wasn't my main focus because I was traveling. I did put out some content mostly on general usage, the wireless dock, and I'll say that it worked beautifully with the Nexdok wireless.
Oh, nice.
The implementation of turning it on, opening decks, and clicking it, the reconnect was on point, right on the money. The connection to the Bluetooth keyboard and mouse was super nice. Everything worked exactly the way it was. We don't have SD card support wirelessly. I don't know. I was hoping that was going to be a thing, but it's not. But audio
Hmm.
output worked great. When
Good.
you have it docked, everything looks. I mean, it's not disappointing, but it's not something that I'm like. I haven't seen that one feature that makes it like, oh my god, this is so much better than the S22 Ultra. I haven't seen
Right.
that yet because it's a
Well,
lot of
especially
minor
when
upgrades.
they've removed things like your ability to control a high performance mode or
So
stuff like that.
that was
It, it,
one. Yeah,
it kind
I
of bums me
was.
out because the 8 Gen 2 is so stinking good. And when I do monster mode on an iQOO 11,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a difference. There
Oh
is a
no, I don't.
difference in what that phone does with that 8 Gen 2. And I
Absolutely.
feel like Samsung is playing this so conservatively that their big marketing push is we took the same size sensor and cut all of the pixels into smaller subpixels doesn't fundamentally change the photography. It's the same size sensor. You
The
just made
output is still, yeah,
the
you're
mini
compressing it
dots
smaller.
smaller. And that doesn't sell me on a new phone. That doesn't sell me over someone who might still be rocking a Note 20 Ultra.
Yeah.
Like, you're still fundamentally in the same ballpark, and with the device that probably has sustained compute performance that's pretty close to
Mhm.
what the latest and greatest Samsung Note 23 is likely to resemble.
Yeah.
So it makes me anxious because I love the Note. Of
Yeah.
the only two phones that really lit me up from Samsung were the Notes and the Actives, and now I want to see the Note be a more daring platform of even more bleeding edge tech,
It's
and
the
I'm not
side. I
seeing
mean,
it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is they give you all the horsepower, they give you everything in the kitchen sink, but I think they're concerned about that whole limiting the heat effect, limiting the performance so that it doesn't get in any way, shape, or form like nuking the battery
Right.
or anything like that. Um,
And the
it's a
HN2 is so good that you
it's
can manage it and it's
you
still going to
can
be a performance improvement. But I've seen
exactly.
no evidence to suggest that their marketing is factual. This is the Qualcomm Snapdragon for Samsung.
Yep.
Okay, cool. This is overclocked. Awesome. That means more performance.
More
And
performance,
yet,
exactly.
every single head to head test I've seen, this is the poorest performing version of the 8 Gen 2 that's currently out because of how Samsung ratchets their software.
Because it
And
runs about 85 to 90% on performance most of the time. You're not okay, I'll say this. You don't really need the full performance of the 8 Gen 2 or the 8 Gen 1 or the 888 or the 865.
you
There's a
can't
lot of
really use it.
yeah, no.
Your phone
You
would
have
cook
to
itself. But I get your point.
you know what I mean, right? Like it's like yeah, a Maserati in many generations is still too much power for what you
Yeah.
normally read, especially if you're going to the grocery store to buy groceries. You're not going to drive it at
But
200 miles an
we're
hour.
talking to a chat full of
Yeah,
people here
who
who are
understand.
actually interested in saying
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to spend over $1,000 on a phone, I
And
want it to be able to do more than if I spent $400 on a
and
phone. And they're
and
not as impressed with just I bought an expensive phone to show off that I can spend money on an expensive phone. And that I feel it matters when a $650 iQOO is pacing your $1,100 Note 23 Ultra in
on a
almost every
performance.
single task and almost every single phone spec
Yeah.
minus pen integration.
Pen
Like that to me,
integration. Yeah.
I would give the camera wins to the Samsung over an iQOO 11, but I
Yeah.
don't know that I would say that that's a $500 performance gap that you need to buy the Galaxy to close all of those bells and whistles
And
when
that's
the
why I want to
iQOO
try
11
to.
is going to beat it in a lot of those
Oh
wind
no,
sprints and
absolutely.
gaming tests.
That's the thing. It's the comparison of what you have and what you can do. IQ is a very great bang for the buck experience, especially at the price point that they're coming in.
Sure.
And I'm just happy that I get a chance to play with that type of experience because I got mine a little bit late, but it's still impressive in what it can do as far as just churning and getting things out. The 9200 on the X90 Pro is still a super champ too. It's not
So good.
so
It's
you have to
really
realize there's
good.
so many different options. Samsung's marketing and approach and pricing. Obviously, this is how Samsung's been playing their game. There's not. I'm not trying to poke in the sense of saying what they're demanding what where they're spending. They're spending a lot of money on advertising. They're putting a lot of words out there. We just want to make sure that the device that they're selling makes fact of those claims and makes it into a value
Right.
opportunity for people to buy. Saying, I
That
want
that
to spend that little more to get that much more.
that
That's what
nails
I'm
it
trying
for
to say.
me because
Yeah.
I have a big problem with Samsung marketing. I
It's
I really don't feel that the Note is a bad value proposition for people that want a workhorse productivity phone.
I, no, absolutely.
I'm not sure I would point people to a Note anymore for content creation, having played with Xiaomi Pro and Ultras and Vivo Pro and Pro
Well, you have, yeah,
Pluses.
you played with the 12S Ultra, man. I mean, come on, you go Xiaomi. That's like, yeah,
Oh,
we're talking
but no, now
pinnacle
it's
level. Yeah, yeah.
especially in a lot of the international markets where the big upgrade for international Samsung consumers is getting the Qualcomm. You don't have to deal with an Exynos. That's a bigger
That
upgrade. It
that,
really is.
that was an easy
But
recommendation for any previous Exynos owner. But yeah, sorry,
sure.
go on.
But it's also going toe to toe. If you're telling me you're wanting to get a phone because you really do want to take your camera game to the next level, then to me, I'm not going to recommend another 1/1.3 inch main camera sensor. I'm
Mhm.
going to say you need to try this 1 inch sensor, and you need to try it on a Xiaomi 12S Ultra. I think the 13 Pro is
I want to
that
say the
gonna
13 Pro is
have?
supposed to.
It's supposed to
I
have it,
it's
right?
supposed to have it.
Someone
I
correct
think.
me in the chat. I'm sure there was a leak or a rumor about that.
I
But then also
yeah.
the Vivo X90. These phones
90
deliver
and 90 Pro. No, not 90. The 90 Pro
90
and the 90 Pro Plus.
Pro and the 90 Pro Plus.
Yeah, the 90
But
has
these
a different
phones
sensor. Yeah.
deliver a tangible optical difference to how your photos and videos will look because of that increased sensor surface area in a way that more megapixels can't deliver. That's fine. I can already hear Samsung Knight saying, but average consumers don't care about more photographic images and better depth of field and natural focus fall off. And again, I'm going to repeat that average consumers don't buy $1,000 phones.
You don't stumble
9%,
into it. Yeah, you don't stumble into an Ultra or an X90 Pro Plus. You're right.
9% of Samsung sales are Galaxy S in total. Galaxy S22, S22 Plus, S Note 22.
Yeah.
9%. Why are we acting like 9% is an average? That is not, I don't know what kind of grade school math you had. 9% is not an average. So immediately that argument is bunk.
Yeah.
So if it's just people care about doing the basics, give them a Pixel, give them a 6A, and call it a day. And you're done. That's it. $400. And you're done. Get them a nothing phone. Get them one of these new Pocos at $300. You're done. You're doing great.
Yeah. I forgot about the Poco. I still don't have my.
So,
I still don't have the X9 Pro. But yeah,
that's just the long and rambling way to kind of get through all this.
Yeah,
I'm very confident that this Note 23 is going to be a baller productivity, DeX enabled, S Pen enabled workhorse phone. That's awesome. But it really bothers me that Samsung is marketing performance when they don't have it. They're saying overclocked and Qualcomm for Snapdragon for Samsung, and it's not better. 200 megapixels doesn't improve anything. Like the biggest noise that they're making about their improvements to their phone are the least exciting things that really improve the performance of their phone against their competitors. And I'll be curious to see, like, if we get a Moto, you have an interesting conversation. Like, maybe I want to trade 2 years of software support for a phone that has twice as much storage at $400 less and also has pen integration. And that's where we end up with something like a new Edge from Moto could deliver on that kind of cost feature comparison at a significant savings over what Samsung's doing on their most expensive platform. Right now we have a gap. If I want a stylus, I either have to spend $1,100 or I need to slum it at like $300. Or yeah, it was the TCL, $200. I have a gap in the middle where I can't get a pen on a phone except for a Moto, where that Moto Edge went on sale for like $499 for 512 gigs of storage. So I want us to just kind of keep those in mind. My ire with the S23 Ultra, this Note phone, mostly stems from Samsung making the biggest, boldest claims and then not being able to back it up. And I'm tired of just rolling over like, yeah, but I mean, it's going to be the best. Sure, but they're kind of lying to their consumers, and I don't like misrepresenting what the products can really do against the competition, which is now fiercer than ever.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
What you can
year
get
over year, their focus on
incredible.
It's they've been incrementally improving their camera system, improving small pieces. I mean, we still have the same battery size for the last 3 generations, the same charging speeds the last 3 generations. Actually, even I mean, so the reality is, the improvements that they're doing are in very small, specific areas. But so for me, this is what I think. A perfect combination would have been, hey, we have this really good, really overclocked, good CPU that can, and you're not going to get it with anybody else at this, as of the release of the S23 series, type of an experience. Why not give us that performance mode back? This is where it kind of got me a little bit in like, I'm like, wait, hold on a second. So you told me this car can go 200 miles an hour, but then I think I would like, but I'm going to run it at 180 miles an hour all the time. To me, it's more about, even with all the updates the S22 Ultra got, it still has performance mode. They didn't take that away. That's a feature that's part of the S22 Ultra. That's running the 8 Gen 1, not the 8 Gen 1, not the 8 Plus Gen 1, which is running a better bin processor. So for me, when I'm looking at this and I feel like, okay,
that makes so little sense to me.
Yeah, smart mode is the only way I need to be in auto mode for refresh rate. I need to be in auto mode for performance rate. It's like you have to be all on auto. Like, but this is the performance. This is your flagship of all. Right. I can do everything, and I can do whatever you want on other things. So that was the thing that was kind of taken away from it when I was looking at it, when I got a chance to play with it a little bit before the launch event. And I think at the end of the day, what we're really asking for here is like, look, just meet the expectations that you're making claims on. Give us the power that you're recommending and that you're putting in there.
Yeah.
Qualcomm obviously went and did more work to try to get you better binned processors so that you can overclock them already with because you got to remember, this is kind of like getting the 8 plus Gen 2 in
A little
January, or
early.
yeah,
Yeah.
like really early, because that's literally what this is. For the most part, architecturally, it's a similar
But for
binned.
all that work, from the actual practical tests that I've seen, you lose out on like 9 to 12% of like the sustained frame rate in a game like Genshin. Is it Genshin or Genshin?
I call
Genshin?
it Genshin, but it depends on. Yeah,
Genshin.
it's like
I'll go
GIF
with
and
you.
GIF.
I feel like you probably. I don't play the game, so I'll follow you.
I
But
call it
like,
Genshin Impact. Yeah.
but
Or
you
oh
know,
no, sorry, Genshin. Sorry, you got me saying Genshin. Genshin Impact.
I'm in your brain. So the difference in performance, like, it's hanging with a MediaTek 9200, and that's no
Oh,
defeat. That's a great place to be, but
yeah.
that's also losing out on gaming performance to some of the more powerful 8 plus Gen 1s and
Mhm.
some of these really inexpensive 8 Gen 2s. So again, I can't bridge this conversation here in North America because North American consumers just think of a phone as a phone as a phone, and it does phone things. And it's okay that we spend $900 on a phone just to cover the basics because that's all they understand about phones.
Yeah.
Like, we failed as tech reviewers that people will spend $800 or $900 on an iPhone 14, and I just like to do a little messaging, and it's nice. It's not the most expensive phone, and you're like,
Hmm.
that is $200 of phone use, and you spent $800 on that phone. We
It.
have not done our job in educating and exposing people to different ideas and trying to really match the right fit product for their needs.
Yeah.
Internationally and across, I mean, around the whole world, the rest of the smartphone buying audience does not buy premium Android. They know they can get a $200 to $400 phone that's going to cover their average consumer needs. Overwhelmingly, we're under $400 for average sales price on Android devices. We need to have a better meritocracy of dividing phones into different categories. Is it a gaming phone, a productivity phone, a content
Mhm.
creation phone, and really making sure that the consumer knows, okay, you're going to get a great experience at $600 for a phone. Do you want it to game? It's worth looking at this. Do you want one of the best cameras you can fit in your pocket? You want to step up over here. Do you want to look
Yep.
at productivity and fine point touch computing, like having a stylus? These are your options. And we're not doing that. Instead, I'm seeing S23 Ultra versus iPhone 14 Pro Max, why the iPhone is better. And you're like, we're doomed. As a tech hobbyist species, we're doomed. We're near extinction already.
It's a tough.
It kills me.
No, I know, and I mean, you can see the comments too. I mean, everybody in the chat, of course, are, and actually, oh wow, is that who I think it is? No. Oh no,
Who?
no. Okay, I just read it. No, no, sorry. I was reading the name, and I
Oh,
read the name and I misread the name. Sorry.
no,
Um,
it's okay.
it's the coverage on that actually, if you notice, even started shifting anyways. They're now most everybody's talking about the S22 3 and the 3 plus as
Hmm.
conversations on the Ultra is kind of like starting to fizz out. This is why I'm like, my coverage on this is, I wasn't trying to go in there and start doing camera comparisons. I'm like, I'm going to start focusing on how to do more with it, like knowing how to
Hmm.
set up your S23 Ultra to get the best
Yeah,
experience out of it, or even the S22 3 and the standard plus, because there are certain things you don't like. Samsung still doesn't advertise good luck as an option. I feel like that's doing a disservice to their users, because it's a service they offer for free. It's
yeah,
something that they give out and it's never installed, but it's a feature set to customize. These little modules that I used to need to root my phone to do are all built in. They still set the resolution to 1080p out of the box. They still set the I mean, the refresh rate is at least now on auto, but for the most part, those are things that I feel like all of these things need to be kind of like a walkthrough when you set up your phone. Let's talk about the best perform. Let's talk about the best settings for your display, the best settings for your audio,
hmm,
the best setting. Those should be part of the setup, as opposed to just to get me into the home screen and not tell me anything else, and
sure.
I have to go in and play.
So
So yeah.
I just want to address this here from Kemi Torres, and this is a good point, but I feel like, again, we have failed in our duties as educators if
Hmm.
this is really the viable business strategy that appeals to our family and friends. So Kemi says, maybe because in the USA you can get a $1,500 phone paid only in $40 monthly installments, and not many countries allow you to
Okay, so this is how. Oh, I guess we lost Juan. Real quick. We'll wait for him to come back, Jimmy. I'll give him a second to kind of get back into that. Let's see.
I
Hey,
just vanished, right?
you
That
you
was weird.
dude, you were like,
Chrome just so I usually have better experiences in Chrome than Firefox when we use StreamYard, and it just went
yeah,
nope. Reload the page. So anyway, you can see the comment on the screen. We're gonna just roll right through that.
yeah. No,
So
I
so
know.
that is absolutely true. Except if you go and talk to your family and friends and you say, "Hey, your phone service costs you about 40 or 50 bucks a month," and then on top of that, you're gonna sign up for now. They're often going to 3-year leasing, and you're gonna
Oh yeah, yeah.
spend 40
And there's a
bucks a
down.
month.
No, no, but there's a down payment too, $200 to $300
And
down
so,
payment.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you're going to spend $200 or $300, and you're going to spend another 30 or 40 bucks a month for 3 years to own
Hmm.
this phone. Or they also have a deal on a Pixel 6a where you sign up for a 2-year contract and you walk out the door with the phone and it's yours. And if
Yeah.
you really want just casual point and shoot photography, the Pixel 6a wins a lot of those races just because it's such a refined, mature, understood
Yeah.
combination of hardware and software. So again, I still feel like if you really listen to what your family and friends are asking for, they would like to cut their monthly cell phone bill in half and still have a good phone that
Yeah.
handles communication and does all of their social media and has one of the absolute easiest and best cameras for point and shoot, just tap the shutter button photography. That's where we're falling down. That's where we're really not sticking the landing on all of this. We're so far removed from those early days of if you don't buy the most expensive phone, you are punished with a miserable camera, social media, and gaming experience. A $300 phone is now overkill for average consumer if you go and pick up a Poco. Here
Yeah.
in the United States, if you can get a Pixel 6a for $299, that is a flagship killer. That is no longer an entry level phone. They have
The
put
cameras
in,
on Pixels, they've proven year over year, ever since the Pixel 3, how they're able to pull magic out of the air when it comes to photography. The Pixel 7 Pro still outperforms most of the devices on the market, with the exception of it gets very close for me when it starts when I talk about wanting to take pictures and so on. The X90 Pro and the 70 Pro Plus did really well for me for photography.
sure,
I'm
yeah.
really enjoying
No, no,
Vivo's
no. What?
color
So
science.
stop right there. Stop
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there. What I'm specifically talking about,
Yeah.
because this is what we hide behind as tech reviewers, is the average consumer shield. As a
Okay.
reviewer, I don't need to test advanced camera features because I'm just using this like an average person would when they make up less than 10% of the overall Android smartphone market, or maybe they make up about 10%. You have no defense for using a Vivo X90 Pro as an average consumer might. And I'm going to say it, if all you do is take your Pixel 6a, you
Hmm.
take it out of your pocket and you double tap that power button and you push the shutter button and you don't even tap the screen to focus on a specific subject, you will get better results for that style of photography, of casual, average user, point and shoot photography out of a Pixel 6a than any more expensive phone.
Oh,
It is going to
absolutely.
be much more forgiving of a focus misfire because it has a longer depth of field. You do not want a shallower depth of field from a larger camera sensor if you're that casual with your photography. This is going to save more of your shots for how Google processes the image at the end of that signal processing pipeline. It
Yeah.
has a really good HDR engine. You're
Hmm.
not maxing out the camera in low light situations because that's not how average consumers shop. When you can get this phone for $299 or free on some kind of carrier agreement,
Hmm.
it will be better for that style of use, and the consumer is going to enjoy, oh, but it was also really cheap too.
Yeah.
If you compared the prices between this and a Vivo X90, I really do believe this. I believe consumers would like the Pixel 6a experience in total better.
Oh,
And then
yes.
it would be a nice surprise that it was
Mhm.
cheaper.
Oh, no,
Not,
definitely.
Not, oh, well, we'll save you some money and we'll get you a cheap phone, which is usually garbage. If I just put this in someone's hands and I didn't tell them anything about it, I genuinely believe they would walk away from that experience liking it better
Absolutely, hands down.
after the familiarity period. But yeah,
And I'm just, I think the overall. Actually, I'm gonna just say, yeah, you're right. There's really not much to add. You nailed it pretty accurately.
so I don't want to I don't want to size up because I want to get to. I mean, man, we went really long on our first two topics there. I do just want to show. I think I can fire this up here. Let's see if this works.
Okay, let's watch it.
Oh, hold on. Let me.
Oh wait, yeah, it took over your screen. You switched camera sources. As opposed
there
to
we go. So this is the Google Trends currently on the Galaxy S23 Ultra and just the search terms Galaxy S23 Ultra and S23. And TK, you got to jump on that coverage because search interest in the Galaxy is already plummeting. So there was a huge spike up to February 4th, leading up to sort of Samsung Unpacked. And both search terms are on radical declines. Now that real consumers who actually spent their money can get their hands on the phone, now there's less interest in talking about the phone when we would have the most informed conversations about what it's really like to use a Note 23.
And I think this is why I really want to shift my focus on the S23 series more about how to get better usage out of them than it is to just review them by camera comparison. Because I know for a fact
the reviews are done. Like what interest there is in just reading off the specs are done.
By the time I got my device, every video possibly that could be referring to that type of experience, which I don't do, you know, I'll just say that from the beginning. I don't really do a lot of camera comparison. I've done maybe a couple, literally a couple in the past. The amount of work that you put into it and the amount of output that you put out, yes, you may get initial, you know, I don't feel like the return on the click on the work amount is there. I don't want to spend the $1,500 on an iPhone 14 Pro Max just to be able to do this type of video. I have a 13 Pro Max from my work, and I can't use that for this experience. But the long story is, my goal is to help you enjoy your tech more. I want you to use your tech more. I want you to do more with your tech. So my coverage is going to be colored on that experience. This is why when I do a video on a device, I realize if I want to point to camera performance and get an in-depth experience, I know where to point them to. I have you here. I have my buddy that will do that stuff. I don't want to spend time doubling down on the work that you're doing. I'd rather send people to you because they will get that experience. And I know what I'm a fan of that experience.
Well, and it's the same thing. I purposely test games that I like to play, which are not very popular. And then I also know that you're doing a better job of handling like the battle royale types of games. The games that I think I suck at.
The experience, and this is, I feel like that's the level of storytelling that I'd like to be part of, and that's the level of story that I'm going to be put into on the S23 Ultra. Don't get me wrong, I like the cameras out of the S23 Ultra. I will say one of the biggest things that I still need to wait. So the X90 Pro Plus in China received the update to allow Bluetooth audio into video. That is a big feature.
I want that.
That's a big feature. I'm waiting for that update to push to the X90 Pro.
I want that.
No, but that's the thing. Video input. We've done streams from the from the Sony from the Xperias. We've done it from Samsung in the past. And it's because we can, connect the USB-C audio to the device and use audio from it, and the output is consistent. Pixels do that as well. You're able to use external audio from there. But those are the things I want to be able to get some more devices on the market to enjoy audio from other sources, not just from the built-in. Because if you get a really good sensor and a really good setup and lighting, it's going to be very hard. Like in this studio setup, I can almost say that very few devices that I can put them here and use them as opposed to my main camera, you'd be able to tell which one is which. Like just from looking at it, it's all about lighting and it's all about setup. When they say they shoot videos and movies, Apple and Samsung both say we shot this on insert device name. The reality is, you did that, but you excluded all the production team.
You got Ridley Scott and his production team and multi-million-dollar production facility. I'm not sure the camera mattered at that point.
Your line of drawing, that line of rationale between saying, well, this camera can absolutely with this much. You need to say that in the same thing with $300,000 worth of production. this device can shoot the same video as what you normally see in our normal videos, and I don't doubt it. I think these cameras are very nice, very good.
Sure.
I don't want to extend too much of it, but the main thing is my focus is to help you do more. That's why I always say enjoy your tech, do more with your tech, and then do more. And I think the S23 series so far seem to be doing really well. I feel like the Z Flip, the N2 Flip here is at some point in some market going to give Samsung a little bit of competition. Sure. And I hope that they continue the conversation. I want to see a sequel to this. I want to see more functions added. They showed us at the launch event, which I don't have yet, Spotify support, WhatsApp support, like the ability of responding to WhatsApp messages from your display. Like, seriously. Like, I mean, I know you could do it on your watch, but I mean, for somebody that doesn't wear a watch, having that functionality in here is kick-ass, especially because I use WhatsApp all the time. Sure. But I do want to change the conversation a little bit because I know we kind of went long. Gaming, things that you do, things that you can do more, because I know you've been also a little bit, we just talked about, playing different games and so on. And I've been playing on I need to put the video on the Edge out, the Razer Edge as I'm traveling. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay, let me put you up. Hold on, let me switch.
So I'm finally joining you on Team a Razer Edge. And I just want to do this because I feel it bears repeating, because we're also Steam Deck fans, that when we see something like this and you're like, oh yeah, well, I mean, it's like a gaming tablet-y thing, just like how much bigger the Steam Deck really is over something that's a portable media tablet solution. And like, if you kind of like put them side by side, my camera is wigging out, just like how much broader and thicker and heavier the Steam Deck is, that this is like rivaling, smaller than a Nintendo Switch. And I'm absolutely shocked at
once you take it out of the grip itself, it's actually much smaller, much more compact, and again, the cooling. We have active cooling on this thing.
Yeah. So that's what you pack and carry, and you could just bring another controller if you didn't want the full telescoping grip.
Absolutely.
But that's it. That's a little media gaming tablet thing. It feels a little like the Lenovo Fab. You remember the Lenovo, the big phablety phones that they had?
Yeah.
It's about that size, where it's kind of bigger, but for something that's entertainment and portable, this really does feel entertainment portable, where I won't leave the house with a Steam Deck unless I can pack and carry that full protective case for the Steam Deck. This I threw into the phone pouch pocket on my camera bag. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, it's good. Let's go. Okay, cool. Yeah. And now I can play games and stuff.
I took it with me to London to play games on it, but I just needed to make sure to turn off the modem connectivity, because Verizon doesn't operate outside of the US, and the unit that I have has a temporary eSIM built into it, and I didn't want to get the Verizon PR guys.
Yeah,
my bag like, TK.
What are you doing? Sorry about those international roaming costs.
But it was a great game. My flight was a little bit delayed coming back yesterday, and as I was waiting at the airport, I fired up God of War. I just played it. I was just basically, slashing it out. I was going there. I love everything about gaming in what it offers us. It's a little bit more, as you said, portable and easier to kind of carry as opposed to a Steam Deck. Mm-hmm. I still see the value of what Steam Deck can offer us as far as more PC based.
Oh yeah. So again,
there's a different.
We've got
a different crowd.
We've got to compartmentalize. We've got to divide up. This is an Android media tablet, and it's built with an accessory that helps it become a very good gaming solution. The Steam Deck is a portable PC gaming console. They are different products that achieve different things. And if I want, so this is what I love. They're close enough in price between like the entry level model and the top of the line model, but for a Steam Deck that means you get more storage, but for a Razer Edge that means you get the 5G
LTEs, yeah.
So what we don't always do a good job balancing, the screen on the Razer Edge is so much better than the LCD on the Steam Deck or on the less expensive Nintendo Switch. That OLED is gorgeous and is a true high refresh. It can go up to 144 hertz. I don't even turn it on to that. I've left it at 120.
Yeah. Well, because very few things go to 144. That's the reality of it.
Yeah. And especially for mobile gaming, like my Steam Deck struggles on games to
Oh, no,
properly
no.
keep 60
The
going.
games that can
Get to
push
end
forward
run in a
for
Vampire Survivors, and you're at like 2 frames per second in
and
that last couple minutes.
very few games that can run high quality graphics hit the 120 or the 144. The ones that do go to that high refresh rate are less graphic intensive games that can actually push the pixels faster. But like
Yeah.
Undead Horde on, let's say, in Red Magic 7 Pro or Red Magic 7,
Mm-hmm.
that guy was running at 120 frames per second
Yep.
easy.
That phone
Like
was screaming
it
hot,
was,
but it
yeah.
did it.
I was about to say you could put breakfast with it at the same time and play the
Mm-hmm.
game, but yeah. So we have a little bit more. There's a lot more things to do with this console and what you're able to do. I like the fact that the Kishi controller here has a headphone jack, has haptics built into it, so it's a little bit different than what you see with this regular Kishis. It doesn't it
Sure.
doesn't compact down to the size of what the original Kishi does,
No,
but
this is a little bigger.
yeah, no. So for me,
So
what I ended up doing is I bought a generic case for the Logitech, the Logitech gaming, and I keep my my Razer Edge in that with accessories at the top. So I have a case carrier for it
which
when I travel.
that I think is actually one of the more fair. If you're looking at where you're spending your entertainment dollars, I think we have this spectrum.
Yeah.
A family could decide that an iPad is the best way to spend a couple $100s on an entertainment and media device. And that makes sense to me. It's a general purpose built tablet that can do some computery things, it can do some content streaming things, and it can do some gaming things. That makes sense. The more you focus on a specific aspect of entertainment, those your dollar per experience changes. So it's not just $400 versus $400 versus $400.
Yeah.
If I want to travel and there are some games that I'm playing and I can play them on a Steam Deck, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. That is my gaming peripheral. That Steam Deck isn't very good at doing other things. Like if my daughter wants to watch something on Netflix, I kind of can, but mostly only through desktop mode, or if I do like a shortcut in desktop mode that then goes into the Steam, UI,
Yeah, kind of like,
and then
yeah,
I can launch it through Steam.
like running the
I
Epic
can't really,
Store or something. Yeah.
I can't really have her watch a video on that as easily. But
and I
here,
think
I
you
can
wouldn't
pop
want
off the
to.
controller,
Yeah.
and I have an Android UI that she's already familiar with because of all my phones and tablets, and she can stream a video or go into a game that she likes to play because she's been playing a couple of mobile games. She got her first level clear in Vampire Survivors.
Or you could have her do what she
She's
likes to do, is
7?
have her video in pop-up mode and have her play Vampire
Oh,
Survivors.
we're not yet to let's overstimulate my child to that
Overstimulate.
degree, but it's coming. It's coming
Yeah,
soon.
But
So the Razer Edge
congrats.
starts making a lot of sense, and
Yeah.
I think the old criticisms of, oh, but Android apps have terrible controller support. I mean, that's still a bummer, especially for older PC and console ports that didn't take that into consideration when porting to Android. But so far, newer games, indie titles, and game streaming have all been basically the same. So I want to show. I don't know if this is going to work because I think I might need to get out of desktop mode. Let me see if my Elgato is even working here. Yeah, give me a second. I need to get out of desktop mode on this because I just want to show the actual Steam Edge UI. It's going to take me just a second.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Because you just need to get out of that and go back. I forget. So the Steam Deck, well, also the Razer Edge supports video output, but it doesn't support it through through the controller. So you need to use an external Bluetooth controller to get that experience if you want to put that on an external display.
All right, let me unplug it and plug it back. Let me turn it off and on again.
Okay.
That's sometimes how this works. This is, again, for anyone who's listening to the audio version of this
That's
podcast.
tech support 101, my friend. Turn it off, turn it back on again.
Best now it's not showing me anything, so that's great.
Let me see, what are we looking here?
I think I just need to reboot it now. Dang it.
And
2 seconds.
And we lost Juan. Juan's not represented by no signal.
No, I'm still totally here.
I know.
So there are a couple little niggling things that I think still need to be addressed. Like some of the power management stuff is kind of wonky. But
did you
and like
make
some
sure
of the
you
system
downloaded
UI
all
stuff.
the updates?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got active cooling and it runs the fans in ways that I think can nuke your battery life that you don't need. And then also, there's no power pass-through mode.
No,
which
no.
would be killer for a product like this. And I hope that that's something that in the hardware they can adopt,
Yeah,
or some kind of power management alternative mode.
yeah.
Like that actually is a nice perk on the Note 23 that I think we forgot to mention, is that there
Okay.
is limited support for a gaming charge bypass mode. But yeah, so I just kind of want to play around with a few things here, and I hope that this whole demonstration is going to work and I'm not just wasting our time. But the whole like old notion of Android gaming is bad. Game Pass has been working phenomenally well, which makes sense that they would position that on a 5G enabled gaming
GeForce
device.
Now, Game
But
Pass, Steam Link. I can under so here's the biggest thing that I really appreciated, the connectivity, and what makes the 5G connectivity part of this make sense more. Now, I will say that you don't really need the speeds that I was trying to do, like the speed test that I did in New York with this. Obviously, I was just trying to
mhm.
show more of an extreme situation. But on average, on basically the C-band connectivity on Verizon, and
Yeah,
maybe down the road they will have an unlocked version. Right now, it's pretty much Wi-Fi and LTE, sorry, NT and 5G on Verizon. That's when you need the high capacity connection to be able to play. Let's say you launch Game Pass and you want to play 007 GoldenEye while you're waiting at the airport for your flight to go on. That's literally the reason why you would want to do something like that. It's because you want to be able to play it without filling up your storage. But conversely, you could
oh for sure.
also load up a whole bunch of emulators. The G3X is actually a really nice, powerful processor that can push
When
pretty
you
good.
when you cool it, yeah,
Yeah, no,
it's been
absolutely. And
awesome.
and I think that's the biggest thing that I appreciated from when I first saw this in its first incarnation in 2021, then in its second incarnation in 2022 at the Tech Summit with Qualcomm. It's the active cooling that they have, and it's a purposely built hardware around a purposely designed SoC from Qualcomm. The G3X I feel like it's an evolutionary side of the 888. That's when we saw first when we early 8 Gen 1, like a little between 888, 8 Gen 1. Um, really boss level. Everything that you can throw at this should be handled very easily. The cooling does kick up the fans. I wish I had a little bit more control over those. The ability to maybe, and I feel like maybe it'll help the battery last a little bit longer as well. Hey, back to Juan's signal. And the biggest thing, what I'll probably say is it's limited by your imagination. It does have, you can easily make a case, obviously say, like, why can't I just buy an S22 Ultra from last year, or a Red Magic 7 or whatever, and add a controller? Do I not get the same experience? I think you do, but you get it you get it to a certain point. You're still talking about a smartphone that you're probably going to need to use as your daily driver, so you're not going to nuke the battery on that device to play games all the way to right before you get on a flight. Where something
Yeah,
like a dedicated system, like you said, you can hand the tablet over to Lex, and that is absolutely true. As a parent, we consistently hand our devices to our kids because they want to do something on it and whatever. I've purposely given my son a Red Magic 6 Pro as his gaming device because I know that if he did what he does on the gaming phone, on his personal phone, he'll never have battery on his phone. I'll never be able to get in touch with him when I'm not around at the
right.
house. So you have to purposely understand, at the price point for an Android tablet based experience, this is going to be the best Android tablet gaming, the best gaming on an Android tablet you can find to date. Smartphones and tablet are similar, but they're not the same. A tablet has multiple usage, more outside of being in your pocket with you all the time. You can play games there, you can do things, but purposely for like your son, your daughter, your niece or nephew, whatever, somebody that wants to play, or even for yourself. I was playing. I had a 10 and a half hour flight coming back from London yesterday. Trust me when I say that not the entertainment system, as great as it is nothing compared to what I'm able to put on my own
Yeah,
custom games, emulators. Now, obviously, I couldn't do any streaming because I was on a flight, but it's the other thing. It's the loading of an SD card and running games off of your SD card. That's where the benefit of something like this over what, let's say, Steam Deck can do. Steam Deck will run great, but I will say I consistently had to charge the Steam Deck more often than I did with the Razer Edge on the flight. I felt like on Wi-Fi turned off, running straight on device, and I'm just running on device content. The Steam Deck runs battery faster because it has more to run. It runs hotter
yeah.
faster. It needs to kick up the fan faster. Uh, but it's also kind of like the thing I would have wished though is I wish we had video output on the controller that Kishi comes with. because that was one thing I enjoyed so
It would
much
make
on the
this
Steam Deck.
it would make
Yeah,
this all a lot easier. So
I put on
unfortunately,
my
even
glasses.
for video output, it's like not even working on like my Elgato isn't recognizing it. So I'm not sure if I can get this working the way that I want. I'm going to try one other thing here.
Okay.
And if we can't get it working, then I'm just going to have to kind of talk through some of these. But it would have looked a lot cooler if it had worked for the stream the way that I wanted it to. So
It's always
one
like
second.
that.
We're doing it
Yeah.
live, folks. We're doing it
always-
live.
We always got to try to do it like
Because the whole point of doing this was I wanted to actually talk about the games that we were playing, not just, oh, this has the specs, and it's like an 888, and it is like an... Because I think we're all a little exhausted by just kind of talking out, you know, the medical. I don't think Android gaming is as good. And you're like, I've been playing a ton of games, so let me just show that rather than talk about that. But right now it's being... It's showing me one of the reasons why a Steam Deck is kind of better. Normally, it's not as difficult to get this.
Okay, let's try this
Right,
again.
are you... Oh, you're just not connected at all. Okay, hold on.
Well, so I was going to say is can you oh no, you can't broadcast, you can't cast to... Can we cast to a Chrome panel? No. Can we? I was like, that would be nice.
Maybe.
I don't know, because you can just share your screen.
And let's
Let me see
do
here.
that. I think we have liftoff.
Hey,
There we go.
welcome. Let me
So
see.
the Elgato didn't like it. So being able to record, that wasn't any fun. So now we've got to do the thing. Let's make sure my controller works. Because we can't use the Kishi at the same time. But
No,
is this?
no video.
Yeah, there we
no
go.
video.
All right, so I have been going through so much on this phone using controllers and the Kishi, and just the gameplay's been really good. So it shouldn't be a surprise. Like if you've been playing indie games like Baba Is You, that game is phenomenal. I think it's adorable. It's cute, little pixely kinds of games. Those concerns where you say like, oh, but controller support doesn't work. One of my oldest test games is Bright Ridge, and Bright Ridge does not have good controller support. So that is a bit of a bummer. But you know, I always love firing up something like Dead Cells and allow Dead Cells to access the controller. Yes, Motion Twin, the Evil Empire, and play Digious updates. And we can go into play and just continue. Save games, sure. And we're used to checking out. I mean, what you're not even really going to be able to get a sense of here. We're used to playing games like Dead Cells in like kind of standard console quality ways. 60 frames per second. Man, that looks great on Dead Cells. And PC gamers know that Dead Cells can scale up a lot more dramatically. And this is a game that plays pretty easily on this hardware at 90 frames per second. When you're playing a precision platformer, that 50% increase in frame rate really helps you navigate a complicated environment where it matters how you jump and dodge and attack.
Yep.
That's kind of a big deal. And this is a little Android device, you know, it starts at $400 that accomplishes all of that phenomenally well. So Dead Cells is kind of one of my first metrics for, is this doing what I want it to do, and is it doing it at a high enough tier where I would comfortably play this game? And I do want to point out too, it's the joke I always make. If you played a game like Dead Cells on a good controller on your PC, then you kind of played it in easy mode. The hardest way to play Dead Cells is on a touchscreen. That's like instant mega hard mode. And if you can't get through a couple cycles on Dead Cells on a touchscreen, then I guess you just suck. You're just really bad at gaming. So Dead Cells is I think to me a really accessible metric. But one of the games that just made it to Netflix, this is Dust and Neon. You know my affinity for arcadey, twin stick shootery types of games. Dust and Neon is currently a $30 twin stick shooter, kind of roguelike elements. You die, you get these upgrades, you go back and you start playing again.
Mhm.
But it's really well done. So this is another PC port. If you have Netflix, if you've already, if you're paying for a Netflix subscription, then you have access to this game, and it's just really good. It, it, I very much enjoy that kind of top-down isometric, lots of different gun and upgrade and player mechanics, but the world is gorgeous. It plays effortlessly. Like, I can play for a good 20, 30 minutes before the fans really start kicking
Mhm.
on the Razor Edge. And it's just a delightful, just a really fun, quirky, post-apocalyptic sci-fi world. You play this like robot bounty hunter, and you've got to go and shoot all these robots. And as you go along, I just kind of want to get to this one part in the game. Here, let me shoot. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I want that. So let me shoot. And now when you go to reload, you actually have to manually reload every chamber. So if you have a 6-shooter, you need to put every bullet in that 6-shooter individually back into the chamber. And let me switch out to my pistol. And so now, here, let me get in. There are accuracy and handling mechanics.
Mhm.
So it's a lot like other first-person shooters where you have to be able to, when you're standing still, you have more accurate aim than if you're moving. And then there's like a view per weapon, a scope per weapon for how accurate that weapon is. And then you've got
Yeah, you
to
missed it.
shoot, and then reload. Shoot, and then reload. And you actually do, I mean, it's funny, but you do kind of take on that, like, that reload mechanic starts to become like old school Western 6-shooters. You know, people had to like cock the hammer back before they could pull the trigger. So this is, if you have Netflix, this is a $30 game that you can just play for free. And I would say this probably is playing better than if I were trying to run this on a Steam Deck, for being a little Android tablety thing right there. So then I want to get down. Of course, like major titles like Alien Isolation have been playing great. My other favorite twin stick shooters, things like Neon Chrome and Tesla
Mhm.
versus Lovecraft, are
Okay.
playing above 60 frames per second, easily handling like 100 to 120 frames per second. Arcadey games like Shredder's Revenge, old school coin op, beat 'em up, like, it's great. Like, the game is
Well,
just great.
I see you downloaded the remastered Tomb Raider that just came out as well.
So that one's also kind of funny too. So Tomb Raider Reloaded is a phone game.
Mhm.
It is not something that has any kind of awareness of controller support, because the whole point is that you're going to play it in portrait mode. So we can fire
Yeah.
that up.
I saw that one when I
But
was
there
in the
is,
UK. I didn't get a chance to play it yet.
I
I
don't
downloaded it
love
and
it.
yeah.
It's trying to be a phone shooter with
On a
old
tablet.
school. No, I have connectivity. Like, I see the Wi-Fi is connected. Is it not connected? No, I'm
No, you're
connected.
connected. I see the bar.
So Netflix, I think Netflix is just being weird because welcome to Netflix games. All right, hold on for just a second. Netflix just logged me out, so I need to. Oh, and my camera locked up.
Yeah. We have a beautiful, nice little
That's
side view
great.
here,
Hold
side
on.
portrait image with a nice
And we're doing
natural.
it live, people. We're doing it live. Let me get back in because I need my Netflix account to show off some of these games. That's
When
really
in,
annoying.
no, it's
And now
when in tech. That's what we do.
all of this stuff works so seamlessly. All right, let's see if it'll let me get back in. So loading. Why are you loading? This kind of stuff is really annoying. So Tomb Raider is interesting because there is a public version of Tomb Raider Reloaded,
Yeah.
and it is chock full of God, I hate all of these. Like, I just want to get into a game. Cool. Events.
Sorry.
Can you just let me play? Oh, no. Can I hate this so much. I really don't like games
Sorry, I didn't mean
that
to pick on
ratchet
it.
you
I
through
just
all
saw you
this.
downloaded the same game I had, but yeah.
But you go through, you upgrade gear, you have like multiple currencies that you need to mess with, and gems and coins, and the public version of the game is just slathered with microtransactions and in-app purchases and tons and tons and tons of stupid grind. The Netflix version is not. So you still have to go through all this grindy stuff, but there is no there is no option to buy things. It is just the game grind. And I wish I could get into a game because it's forcing me to go through all of this stupid, your daily discoveries. And these are all the things, and look at all the gems. And I just want to play. I finally found a mission I can play.
But the gems.
So,
That's good.
but the gems, yo. So there is no controller support. Like, oh God, just
Let me through.
I don't care. I don't care. Oh, I hate this. So I'm trying to do ASMR of my controller stick here, and it's not doing anything. So you just go and then you stop. You move around, and then like in old Tomb Raider, you only shoot when you're standing still. So it's kind of fun in that it's like a one thumb action adventure game, but it burns out really quick, and you spend so much time not playing and managing all of your resources and upgrading all of your equipment, and it doesn't really feel like any of that matters. Because it's still the same, like the enemies get stronger, so then your weapons get stronger, and then you just run around, and then you have to dodge obstacles, and then you stop, and then your character will automatically target whatever's closest, and that's the whole game. I feel like we outgrew this a long time ago.
No, and it is. Yeah,
So
I mean, I'm just happy to see that the library of games on Netflix games is getting better, in the sense of we're getting more options. I mean, TMNT was really nice, but then when I saw this one in there, and the other game that you also saw, I didn't even see that one yet.
Don't spend time on this. Spend time on TMNT, because TMNT
Oh, yeah.
is an actual, real, awesome arcadey title that is fun to play and has proper support for like co-op,
Oh,
where
yeah.
you can jump into other people's games. Like this whole notion of like, well, Android for gaming isn't very good is basically just we're held back on some software. As soon as we get real games coming to this platform, they're awesome. I mean, Vampire Survivors plays better on this Razer Edge when you get into Endgame than it does on my Steam Deck. The Steam Deck slows to a crawl. Endgame on Vampire Survivors with your screen full of enemies is playing a little bit smoother. Tesla versus Lovecraft plays at a higher frame rate than the Steam Deck screen can properly support. So we've got these options, and we've got these solutions. Like, it's really not hard to find some games that you would really want to play. It's just you probably don't have the same catalog as easily accessible as if you had like a gaming PC.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think it's the biggest thing I think about this is you have to purposely think about what you want to do, like exactly this way, like running Xbox, Game Pass on this, and jumping in there and playing Forza if you just want to be able to play like a high quality game, accessing Fortnite, running some different options. And I love the fact this still says beta the whole time. It always says beta, and because it is a beta, I realize it is, yeah. But
it's just a nice perk for. I mean, well, first of all, like if you're looking at any subscription service, Game Pass is still like one of the best
options on the market,
all around solutions for any kind of subscription. Like Netflix is stupid expensive now. You spend less on Game Pass and you get all these games.
Yeah, no, I know. And I think also GeForce Now, using the Edge, is able to leverage, if I'm not mistaken, the new tier of GeForce Now with the 4080 tier.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest.
And that actually matters. Like we're looking at gaming that really can. I mean, this stream is never going to do this justice because this is playing at a liquidy smooth 60 frames per second on the Razer Edge.
No, I can see it. Very, very, very nice. It's not. I mean, obviously not as high refresh rate, but yeah.
our stream is going to be like kind of capped at 30, especially through this USB adapter that I'm using. But like all of the lighting and the particle effects, and like this is great. This is really good. I totally appreciate the concerns some people have about things like whether or not you have good data and good infrastructure, or whether or not your gear can support this kind of game streaming.
Hmm.
But the fact that I can easily jump into this, my Xbox achievements and progress carry over to the
Yep.
Xbox installed version of this game on my little mini gaming PC behind my TV.
Hmm.
I can easily manage all of that stuff back and forth. If my daughter wants to watch something, I can just hop right back off and fire up a browser and have access to a really high quality gaming experience. Like, we're in really good shape for stuff that I feel like now the platform is way less important. The platform matters less than the software. And right
Yeah.
now, if you have access to the software, it doesn't matter if it's Android or Windows or
Yeah.
anything else.
No, no, exactly.
So I've really enjoyed what the Razer Edge kind of what it kind of advertises, and I think you got a flavor of that when you were playing with the Logitech. I
Yep.
think this is better realized to crossover,
It's the
where
better
you can
hardware.
have
Yeah. It's like this is where when you get a gaming center company putting together the resources to make a piece of hardware that is intended for gaming, more so than just providing a lower price point. I feel like Logitech went pretty much more about they're trying to give us a lower price point than what Steam Deck was providing us. But where it failed in the execution for me was the updates, the software management. I don't think this is where Logitech was really well known for, especially on an Android tablet, where Razer is known for this. They've done phones in the past. They've run Android on their systems before, and again, purposely built to be able to give you that best experience: 1080p, 144 refresh rate, large battery, cooling, controller support, all of the things that you'd expect a gaming company to put together into it. This is why you'd love something like this. And even in its early generation, they used to have an an HDMI port out. You would connect the full
yeah.
size HDMI to the demo
I really
or
do
the
wish
program.
that this had that.
Yeah,
And what I'd love is more ports on the
or like better
actual.
dock support. I would
Yeah,
have felt like an additional USB-C, kind of like at the ROG, so you can dock it down, or even connect the USB-C output video from there, and then still be able to use the control. Sorry, yeah. But so things like this,
so
Xbox Game Pass, all of the things, and I'm sure there's a lot more things that you're going to be doing, obviously, on your unit and testing it out and more. I'm actually kind of almost coming to the end of mine, so hopefully next week I'll be able to push my review online. I've had it for the last 3 weeks, so it's not like I haven't been using it, and I've traveled quite a bit with it, which I love.
yeah.
Always testing hardware on the go, like testing it outside of your comfort zone or your optimal solution zone. How does it hang? How does it actually play? Can you play something like that while waiting at the
Hmm.
airport? Because this is why you would buy a connected device. Like the Surface Pro 9, that was the biggest thing that got me into it, that I really appreciated there, was the fact that it was it was an always on connected. If I needed to jump on and do work right as I'm waiting in line to get on a flight, I can do that from this because it's always on and it's always connected. So those are the things I appreciated, kind of availability here. The Razer Edge, it's always on.
Yeah.
You turn it on wherever you are, you're standing, you can do whatever you want. You want to use a regular headphones, but put it in there. And I'm hopefully we'll be able to see some more optimizations in there done in the near future. And kind of like to kind of almost get us again, it's like wrapping up, since we're crossing the 2 hour thing. Using the Surface Pro 9
Hmm.
made me appreciate having an always on, better battery, an always functional, better battery functioning operating system on a mobile device,
Yeah.
meaning a laptop that can last forever almost for me, and that I can do everything with. I guess with Windows on ARM, we still have some of the limitations, but after
Sure.
using that for 3 months, I was actually more open to the idea of, um, and we'll wait for Juan to come back because I think we just lost him for a second. Using something like more specifically like on a Mac side. So about 2 weeks ago, roughly around the same time when my PC died, I was able to get my hands on an M1 Mac, and I've been using that to edit and travel with this. But the point of reference that I have, and once Juan comes back, I've been using PCs for the longest time to edit videos when I travel, and I've traveled quite a bit this month. But my Windows PC will barely last about an hour on a flight, barely between turning it on, connecting it, and I cannot charge it on a flight. That's the biggest limitation. Most of the PCs that Juan and I will use to be able to do work on have to be performance level PCs, and those typically have much more higher juice requirement, I would say. So I can't charge my laptop, but I would still need to be able to edit videos, produce them, and have them ready. And maybe when I land, and here we have Juan. Welcome back.
Yeah, I broke StreamYard. StreamYard did not like that I was switching different inputs. They're like, no, your browser cannot support. And you're like, you have the option. Anyway, so
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of cap this all off. I would like us to spend more time. We did this when we first started streaming, just like, hey, what are you playing this week?
Yeah,
I want us to do that more specifically, where as soon as we say, like, hey, I've got the Razer Edge, I don't want to talk about RAM. I don't want to talk about the SoC. I don't want to talk about the specs. You can go, everyone in this chat, you can go read the specs. You don't need us to read the specs for you on the new Razer Edge. But I would like to show you that I have been racking up hours of gameplay on Vampire Survivors. I've revisited Baba Is You. Netflix has just released a trio of new, really good games and one mediocre Tomb Raider port. Like, your ability to game stream, play local. We need developers to actually take Android seriously, and then we'll get other PC ports. If you like games like Alien Isolation, your performance per watt on a smartphone is better than on a gaming laptop. You can play Alien Isolation longer on the go, natively installed on a little mini Android tablet or on an Android phone than you can on a Steam Deck or a gaming laptop. Yep. And that's got to be the next part of this conversation. Yeah. Dust in Neon is so stinking fun. I actually really wish that I had known about that game. I'm going to go buy it on Steam to support the developer.
Yeah.
But being able to play it for free on Netflix has been awesome. But I do want it on my Steam Deck too. It's just, our entertainment dollars are so precious right now. The immediate knee-jerk reaction of, but Android gaming sucks, gets in your way. You are wasting money if you still believe that Android gaming sucks. You could have a near Nintendo Switch level experience on a much more well-rounded multimedia tablet on something like a Razer Edge and still play a ton of great games. You might not always find exactly your favorite one game. Totally fair. But if you like gaming and not one game, then you will find things that you love to play on any platform that you go to.
And controller support is becoming more and more open. With the exception of a few games, like I'll say the Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG Mobile, they just don't like it. But Fortnite, you can run Fortnite in there. That's not a problem. Fortnite will run. But you know, it's just I don't know why.
The one I kind of dabbled with, I got really sad about Apex. So support for Apex Mobile is going to get ganked, and out of all of them, that's the one that I kind of poked around the most. I didn't play it very much, but I was like, okay, this has got kind of a quirky vibe to it. I kind of dig it. But no, that one's getting ganked. It's always on me that, like, if I pick a competitive shooter, I'm always going to end up picking the one that no one else likes, and that it dies the fastest. So you don't want to use my tastes for that.
So you're the guy who watches the series on Netflix that after season 1 gets canceled and everybody else.
I'm that guy. Totally.
Last of Us. Yeah, no, I know.
Marie and I joke that, like, if we really like a pizzeria, it's going to go out of business in a year. So you do not want us to go to your restaurant and like it,
or go in there and just keep saying, like, this is just not the best place. This is just not going to make it.
Oh, this is terrible. I just keep coming back to express my frustration.
What kind of pomodoro do you use on this pizza, man? Come on.
So I would like this to kind of dovetail with what you were talking about at the end of our kind of discussion about the Galaxy Note 23. Is right now in your pocket. If you spent more than $400 on a phone 3 years ago, you have a ridiculously powerful supercomputer that you could be doing more with. Absolutely. Our chat is full of people that grok that. And now we need to go out and be better educators to show our family and friends, like, hey, did you hear about this game? this game Vampire Survivors. Did you know that it actually plays better on a good mid-spec phone than it does on like a portable gaming console device? Yeah. You should play Vampire Survivors. It's free. It's awesome. Yeah. Like this game is rad. It's those types of conversation points that get lost if we allow the momentum of the laziest tech conversation to win. I do the same thing in camera. I was just in another camera conversation on a subreddit focused on like mirrorless cameras, but saying like, hey, you're totally right. You can switch lenses on a mirrorless camera. You win. Cameras are better than phones. But if you're missing what these new optics can deliver, you're missing one of the most radically improved mobile photography experiences we've ever seen.
It's a big revolution in mobile photography when we were talking about more companies.
Every single point. It's not, I mean, again, we mentioned that, and we're going to go down the deep dive. Let me tell you about all these megapixels and the 1-inch sensor, and this is the thing, and it's all these specs. Specs. And you're like, ugh. That's not it, though. It's like we're going to get kind of locked into this idea that we've got to defend what that segment is. I've got to defend the Razer Edge, because why would you buy a Razer Edge over a Steam Deck or a Nintendo Switch? And you're like, you know what? I'm not playing that game anymore. I'm not going to sit here and try and impress upon you. These hardware specs make it worth it for the money. I'm playing games on it. Yeah. And I'm having a really good time playing games on it. And it does some things better in playing games than those established competitors in this mobile space. And you can extrapolate that. You can take some of that information and say like, okay, maybe I don't need to buy a Razer Edge, but I do have a pretty decently powerful smartphone and a $30 controller. Like all of this I was just doing on an Xbox controller. I had it plugged in too. I didn't even have time to set it up on Bluetooth on this because I was actually using the Bluetooth on one of my mini PCs. It's there. That's it. That's all I did. I plugged this in. The Razer Edge said, hey, do you want to give access to this Xbox controller? I said yes. And then I was playing Dust in Neon, and it was awesome. So that's the reality of what this looks like now. And I just think we need to do a better job of presenting that. Because if we just do, this has a 144 hertz OLED screen and it's bright, it doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. I love my Steam Deck. It does not have 144 hertz refresh rate OLED at 1080p. It's got a 720p LCD at 60 hertz. Yeah, I don't love my Steam Deck any less.
No, absolutely. It doesn't take away from the experience, and you need to have that lived-in experience to be able to talk about it more.
Simon, has the Razer Edge surprised you? Now I need to do a shocked Steam Deck killer thumbnail. I just hate it so much.
No, I know. I'm with you. But okay. So we are running a little.
We're over. We got to wrap this up.
We need.
That's on me because it took me longer. I had it set up where it was plugged into a TV and it worked great. Yeah. My Elgato did not like that combo. I have no idea why that got weird.
The USB stick, I'm assuming, right? The Elgato 4K. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know. I'm with you. We need to get you over to a little bit more fancy equipment for. No, I'm just kidding. The culmination of what's going on this week, I think it's a lot of the things that we're talking. Obviously, are precursors right now. The Razer Edge obviously is there. It's going to be there for some time, and I hope we see more. The S23 Ultra, the brand new N2 Flip from OPPO. These are things that are obviously just coming out, but MWC is literally a week and a half away from now, starting on the 27th. So hold your horses, and I will say that it maybe next week maybe a little bit of a lull, but you're going to see a whole bunch of other things hopefully coming out from both of us, as well as I'm going to MWC, so I'll be your guy on the show floor, basically running and gunning and everything. I'm looking forward to hearing a lot of things. Samsung obviously is not going to be doing anything there, but Honor's talking about the Honor VS. We talked about that. I think I saw somewhere where Xiaomi's also actually no, not Xiaomi did announce they're going to be releasing their Xiaomi 13 series coming out in there.
Yeah, I know.
There's some rumors Realme may be coming back into the fold with a new device coming up in there. I saw I think was it Rock Leak? I forgot the name of the gentleman.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of things to cover.
A lot of chatter. Yeah.
This is Mobile World Congress, not everything else Congress. It's mobile. So there's going to be a lot of things
It's
coming
not
up.
average consumer
Consumer
Congress. Yeah.
That I
Thank you.
love.
Thank you.
Watch somebody set up a. We're here for the average consumer conference 2023. This is what's going on. Snap. We're done. Let's go.
This is how you can spend the most money on a gadget to just do things that your grandmother will do on a device.
And you're like,
this is a $5,000 gaming laptop. It is the bestest laptop. So you should have your great aunt buy this laptop so that she can check her Facebook memes.
I will say the one thing of all the conferences I've ever been that always surprises me is IFA. If you've ever been, and I'll end this on a quick note, IFA lets families and kids and school tours on the show floor the day it opens. So you're in there walking around trying to check out new tech, and then you see the bus, not the like a bus of kids or something like that, passing on, dropping them off, and then there's basically groups of kids and teachers and so on doing there. So long story short,
it is kind of a nice vibe. Yeah,
it makes it a little bit more family oriented, right? You're like, wait, I could have brought my family with me on this one. This would have been cool.
Hey.
There'll be more things to come. Obviously, Juan will be back on Monday with the SGGQA. We'll be back here again on our Thursday night or Friday. We'll see how our schedule's going to work.
Who
Next
knows?
week, on the best of our week. No, I mean, seriously, there's a lot more things to cover. But the week after is going to be cray-cray. And more than likely, I'll be doing a video call from
yeah, we got to set that up.
I was going to say Berlin, MWC from Barcelona. Yeah, because I'll probably in Barcelona before I leave, because I don't think it'll make sense. I'll be getting in so late, it'll be messed up. But with that being said, thank you very much for everybody hanging out with us. We had a great crew hanging out with us. We actually peaked around 56, almost 60 people watching. If you haven't done that yet, please like and, of course, comment and share our content. It helps us a lot. The audio podcast will be provided very soon, and it'll be a link in the description below to be able to pick it up as well. For everybody that will hang out with us on this Friday, hope you're having a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Do more with your tech. And of course, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Juan trying to connect the Razer Edge to something.
No, from here on out, I'm just going to play games on it and have fun. So there you go.
There'll be Juan sitting on the stream like, what did you say to you guys? Yeah. Okay.
Click.
Take care, everybody.